Welcome to HOJO Radio. And now, a Western adventure of old-time radio drama, premiering on July 8th, 1950, and running through September 14th, 1952. Movie star Joel McCrea stars as Texas Ranger Jace Pearson, who uses the latest scientific techniques to identify the criminals, and of course his faithful horse Charcoal to track them down. These shows were actual reenactments of Texas Ranger cases. The series was produced and directed by Stacy Keach Sr. and was sponsored for part of its run by Wheaties. Ladies and gentlemen, right here on HOJO Radio, Tales of the Texas Rangers. Next.
The National Broadcasting Company presents Joel McCrea in Tales of the Texas Rangers. Tonight, transcribed from Hollywood, another authentic reenactment of a case from the files of the Texas Rangers. Tales of the Texas Rangers, starring Joel McCrea as Ranger Jace Pearson. Texas, more than 260,000 square miles, and 50 men who make up the most famous and oldest law enforcement body in North America. Now, from the files of the Texas Rangers come these stories based on fact. Only names, dates, and places are fictitious for obvious reasons. The events themselves are a matter of record.
Case for tonight, square dance.
It is 9:50 p.m. Saturday night, October 14th, 1949. There is a square dance in progress at the Fun Spot, a barn-like dance hall on the outskirts of Bankerville in West Texas. Mrs. Mort Rogers, a rancher's wife, is seated in a corner, waiting for her husband to return with some soda pop. She looks up as a stranger approaches.
Well, looks like I found me a pretty little wallflower. How come you ain't dancing, man?
Reckon I'm a little out of breath from the last one. My husband went to fetch me some soda pop.
Good. While he's fetching it, you and me can dance. Another couple needing that square over there. Come on.
No, thank you. But I'd rather wait for him.
Oh, you're just going to waste sitting there. Come on.
Oh, please, I'd rather not.
No, I ain't the kind of a man who takes no for an answer, especially from a pretty gal.
I told you I don't want to dance with you. It's on my arm, please.
Come on.
What's going on here? What's the matter, Harry?
Oh, Mort, I was waiting for you
And I just happened by and asked her for a dance, that's all.
And left finger marks all over her arm. Looks like your ass pretty rough.
Ain't no harm done. You gonna get hard about it?
Take these pop bottles, Harry.
Mort, don't.
I said take them. Now, you want to repeat that question?
Place is probably full of friends of yours. I don't know anybody around here. I just happened in.
Why don't you just happen out before you get in trouble? Go ahead, beat it.
All right. Maybe I'll meet you alone sometime.
Anytime you want to
No,
try.
Mort, please. Let him go. I'm all right.
Well, there seems to be somebody like that, wandering in where people are having fun.
Forget about him. He went out. Now, drink your pop.
Look at you, honey, you're shaking.
Not from him. It's a little chilly in here now, that's all.
Where's that little jacket you brought?
I left it out in the car.
I'll go fetch it for you.
Oh, ain't that cold, Mort?
Oh, no, just turning blue or something.
All right. Would you mind getting it for me?
Oh, I said I would, didn't I? Any more strangers ask you to dance, hit them with that pop bottle.
I'll be all right. Jacket's in the back seat.
All right, I'll find it.
Well,
Huh?
look who's here.
Oh, it's you, huh? What you doing hanging around these cars? Thought I told you to get lost.
Better watch your tongue. You ain't surrounded by friends now. I figured you'd follow me out.
I didn't follow you out. I come out to get my wife's jacket. And as for friends, mister, I don't need any to hand the likes of you. Now, why don't you get while the getting's good?
Too bad your wife didn't come out to get her own jacket. She's kind of cute.
Shut up. Right now.
Yeah, but would have asked her to dance if she hadn't given me the eye.
Why, you? Come on, get up. Get up and fight. Or get up and run.
I'll fight. But we'll fight my way with this. I might have known someone like you would carry a knife. You're gonna know it. Good. Just once more for good measure. Guess your wife ain't gonna be so particular who she dances with from now on.
When Mort Rogers failed to return to the dance, his wife came out to look for him. Her screams as she found the body brought dancers streaming from the hall. Somebody summoned the sheriff, and he in turn called for the help of a Texas ranger. Ranger Jace Pearson was assigned. He arrived at the parking lot outside the fun spot shortly after midnight.
Howdy, Sheriff.
Well, howdy, Jace. I'm glad you were close by. Here's the body.
Radio was buzzing with calls as I drove in. KTXA's ordering roadblocks set up on every highway near here for 100 miles.
Yeah, I know. I phoned in a description of a stranger who was at the dance tonight.
Yeah, I heard it. Let's hope they can pick him up.
Well, they'd have got him sure if I'd had the description earlier, but it took almost an hour to get Miss Rogers so she could talk.
Is she the dead man's wife?
Yep.
Saw the whole thing then, huh?
No, she was inside when it happened. Come out and found the body.
Well, then why the pickup for the stranger in particular? Rogers have trouble with him?
Just words. Nothing anybody saw. Tried to force Miss Rogers to dance with him, the way she tells it. Rogers come along, saw what was going on, and ordered the fella out. Whole thing happened less than 2 hours ago.
Killer can't be too far away then.
Yeah, far enough.
Yeah, but if the roadblocks don't pick him up, we'll know he's either living or hiding within a 2-hour ride from here.
Could be 100 yards away or 100 miles away. Even then, he might not be the one. Over 60 couple at the dance tonight. Any one of them could have stepped outside. I haven't let a car pull out since I got here.
Good. You shake everybody down?
Yeah, didn't find anything on anybody, though. Deputy has 2 knives and a gun that were ditched under benches when he started searching.
Knives clean?
As far as I could tell.
We'll send them through to Austin, make sure. If there's any blood left on one of them, the lab will find it. Yeah. We're not going to have to wait for that, though. Not if the killer's still around.
Why?
This wound on Rogers' throat cut the jugular. See how the blood spurted out. Killer couldn't miss getting some of that blood on his clothes. You check for that on the shakedown?
Well, just their hands, Jace.
You better line them up again inside. Blood's had time to dry. Killer may have had a chance to try and wash it out, but we'll have to check every suspicious-looking stain.
Well, I got the names and addresses of everybody in the place.
Good. We can use that as a checklist. Make sure nobody's taken a run out since you got here.
Deputies been stationed all around. All doors have been locked, except this one leading out to the parking lot. I had to let folks out here, because some of them have got babies sleeping in their cars.
I understand. Well, let's get them in.
Right. All right, inside again, folks. Everybody inside. Joe, Charlie, Higgins, don't let any stragglers hang back. Keep them moving.
Hey, you better send one of your deputies into town, dig up some clothes from the jail or someplace. If you find any suspicious stains, a few of these people mightn't have anything to wear home. The sheriff's list checked out 100%. Nobody'd run. A couple of cowpokes had stains on their shirts and jeans. We took their clothes and sent them through to Austin for analysis. Next morning, I got my report. A long-distance call from my chief, Captain Stinson.
Austin Lab just finished with the stuff you sent through, Jace. Both the knives were clean.
I see. How about the clothing, Captain?
Well, there was human blood in one of the shirts. A small stain. According to your report, the cowpoke you got it from said he'd cut himself and got a little blood on it. Lab says the blood stain is type O.
Type O, huh?
That's right.
Well, he's not our boy, then. Medical examiner did an autopsy on Rogers during the night. Rogers' blood was AB.
Everything keeps pointing to the stranger who got away. You think Mrs. Rogers gave a good description?
I think so. She gave me the same rundown she gave the sheriff. Claims she'll never forget what he looked like.
You think she'd recognize a photo of him if she saw it?
I'm sure she would.
Good. The boys at Austin are going through the gallery, pulling shots of all known criminals who fit that description.
While I'm waiting, I think I'll have a look through the ranch area around here. All we know about the man we're after is that he got away. We don't know whether he was in a car or on foot or mounted. A few cowpokes did come into the dance on horses.
I see.
Fellow we're looking for might be a new hand, just drifted into the territory. I got charcoal in my horse trailer. Sheriff's getting his mount. It'll keep us busy until you get here, unless you have another idea.
No, Jace, you go ahead. I'll see you tonight.
Right. Bye, Captain.
Bye, Jace.
Ready, Sheriff?
If you are, my mount's all saddled.
Yeah, I'll get charcoal out of the trailer. Let's go. We rode from ranch to ranch, taking shortcuts through the gullies and arroyos, working through the good grazing as well as the badlands, riding close to get a good look at the cowpokes working the range wherever we spotted them.
We're on Brubaker's land now. Be able to see the ranch house when we reach the end of these trees.
How many hands he got on the place?
3. They've been around for quite a spell, unless he took on a new one.
Brubaker. That seems to me his name was on the list of folks who were at the dance.
Yeah, he was there with his wife.
Well, then he was asked if he'd noticed the stranger. Asked everybody that. If anybody by that description was working for him, he'd spoke up.
Well, I thought we might talk to his hands. Even if they weren't at the dance, they might have noticed a stranger around someplace.
Possible. Worth a try.
Yeah. Hey, there's Brubaker now, climbing into his tractor, there by the tool shed. Hey, Brubaker!
He sees us.
Howdy, Sheriff. Ranger.
Oh, boy. Oh, Sharky.
Well, howdy.
Howdy.
Glad to see you, Sheriff. Matter of fact, I've been thinking of phoning you.
You got some information on the Rogers case?
Well, no. It's something I guess I shouldn't even be bothering you with right now. Just wanted to put in a little complaint.
What kind of complaint, Brubaker?
Well, sir, just before the dance last night, the missus and me did some shopping in town. Matter of fact, going to the dance was an afterthought. Just decided to drop in when we was driving home and past the fun spot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sir, like I said, I hate to bother you about it, but a couple of things was stolen out of my pickup while we was at the dance. New bridle I'd bought in town and a new pair of wire clippers.
Are you sure those things were taken while you were at the dance?
Well, they couldn't have been taken anyplace else. They were the last things we bought before we went to the dance. Put them on the shelf behind the cab seat.
Could be something to this, Jake.
You sure could. Anybody stealing things from a car wouldn't be doing it while you and your deputies were all over the place.
And we were there till after everybody had cleared out. Stuff must have been taken out of Brubaker's pickup before Rogers was killed. Say, as a matter of fact, Rogers might have surprised somebody going through the cars.
I wouldn't rule out the stranger we're looking for. He left the dance hall before Rogers went outside. Bridle and wire clippers wouldn't be easy to trace. I wonder if he might have taken something else.
Well, I haven't had any other complaints.
People don't always complain. Thanks, Brubaker. Come on, Sheriff. Let's get back to town.
So long.
So long.
So long.
Get up, Sharky. Come on. Now, let's go. You planning to check over that dance list again?
We'll call every name on it. See if anything else was taken from that parking lot. Up, Sharky. Come on, boy. Let's go.
In just a moment, we will continue with Tales of the Texas Rangers, starring Joel McRae as Ranger Jace Pearson.
3 chimes mean good times on NBC. Tonight, over most of these NBC stations, Theater Guild on the Air will feature Raymond Massey and Shirley Booth in Ethan Frome. Mr. Massey also starred in the play's original production in 1936, while Miss Booth is well known for her dramatic performances on radio and the Broadway stage. Remember to hear them on the Theater Guild on the Air presentation of Ethan Frome tonight.
We continue now with Tales of the Texas Rangers and tonight's case, Square Dance, an authentic story from the files of the Texas Rangers.
The sheriff and his deputies started a phone check of people who'd been at the dance, asking them to list missing articles. Meanwhile, Captain Stinson drove in with the gallery shots of possible suspects. We took them over to the funeral home to see if Mrs. Rogers could identify the stranger who'd quarreled with her husband. The captain showed them to her, one by one.
How about this one, Mrs. Rogers?
No.
Well, this is the last one.
No. That's not him either.
Yeah, guess that does it, Jace. The man we're after isn't a known criminal. Not in this state, anyhow.
Can I go back to my husband now? I want to be near him until they have...
Sure, ma'am. Go ahead.
We wasn't even married a year. 6 months we'd had our first anniversary.
I might as well get back to the sheriff's office, Captain.
Yeah. Young bride like that. And a nice future the killer left her. We gotta get him.
I'll stay on until
Jay! Captain!
Well, there's the sheriff now.
Looks like we've hit something on that phone check, Jace. Deputy just got a call from Perney Richards. Not the old man, but Perney Jr.
Something missing from his car?
Yeah. Ladies' Hamilton wristwatch. Perney bought it for his gal's birthday. Left it in the glove compartment of the car. Was fixing to surprise her with it today.
Yeah, that's gonna help, Jace.
Plenty. New purchase like that, the jeweler will have a record of the serial number on the watch. Killer might try to sell it or pawn it someplace.
He might just give it to some gal.
I don't think so. Man we're after doesn't sound like he'd have a gal of his own. Come on. Let's get a rundown on that watch. We got the serial number and put out a bulletin to jewelers and pawn shops, all the logical places where a man might dispose of a watch. Because it was Sunday, we had a break. The bulletins would be on file before the killer had a chance to unload. Meanwhile, Captain Stinson was in phone contact with Austin, digging up another angle.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. Well, thanks. No, not necessarily. Mightn't mean anything, but it can't hurt us. I'll call you later if I need anything else. Right. Goodbye.
I have anything?
A little. I asked them to check open files, unsolved cases of petty theft, especially things taken from cars in dance hall parking lots.
Must be plenty of cases like that. The same man wouldn't be responsible for all of them.
No, but a couple of cases follow a pattern, Jace. I've written them down. Now, look here. Portable radio stolen from a car a week before last, outside of Elderton. Roadhouse there was having a square dance. And here's a constable's report. Same night, same place. Man answering the description of our stranger got in a beef. He pulled a knife on a fella. Didn't get a chance to use it, though. And ran before the law could get there.
Hey, that's good.
Now, here's another one. Also a square dance. South of here at Pa's Crossing. Happened a month ago. Manager at the dance hall ordered some fella out for bothering a woman. Again, the same description. Fella went outside and threw a rock through a window and got away. Cars had been looted.
That's our boy, all right.
Yeah, but we still don't know who he is.
Something we do know, though. Look at this county map. He's been here in Bankerville, west of here in Elderton, and south of here at Pa's Crossing, all within a month.
Yeah, that's right.
Means he must be living in this area or hanging around at someplace. Draw a circle around the 3 spots he's been seen at. Gives us a radius of about 40 miles in any direction. And that fits, because he wasn't picked up in the roadblocks.
I don't know, Jace. He's been a stranger in all 3 places. And they're the only towns around here. Most of the area in the middle of your circle is hill country and badlands. And not many ranches he might be working on.
No, but there's a lot of prospecting going on in those badlands, Captain. Big new kick. Not gold or silver anymore. Uranium.
Hey, not many people would see a prospector.
Not unless he had a habit of wandering into some town on a Saturday night with a yen for square dancing.
All right, Jace, I'll buy it. What's your move?
Thought the sheriff and I might do a little prospecting, too.
Uranium?
No. A man with a knife. The sheriff put in with me. Next morning, we loaded his horse into my trailer with charcoal and headed into the Badlands.
The old settlement's up ahead. We can leave the car at Reb Miller's store.
I thought the settlement was deserted.
Well, it was for a few years, but Miller opened up again because of this prospecting thing. Reckon they give him enough trade to keep going. It's either they buy from him or take a car trip every time they have to lay in supplies.
I never thought of that. Miller may have seen our man.
Possible. Coming into the settlement now.
Ghost town. Where's the store?
Long Dobie building just ahead. A lot of cars parked under a shed just behind it.
I see it.
Boy, I hope he's got some soft drinks and a way of keeping them cold. This sun's a scorcher.
Well, we'll be able to wet your whistle in a minute. Yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
Hardly think Miller could make a living here.
Well, there's just him and his old lady. I reckon they don't need much to get by.
Looks like we'll be his only customers.
Hello? Anybody here?
Oh, well, lad. If it ain't Sheriff Bruner, howdy.
Howdy, Miss Miller. This here is Ranger Jace Pearson.
Hello, ma'am.
Where's Reb, Miss Miller?
Oh, now he's just plain gonna die 'cause he missed you, Sheriff. But he drove up to Ellerton to see the doc. She's back again.
Oh, that's too bad.
But he'll be back for supper if you can stay.
We might have to. Depends on whether or not you can help us.
Somebody here can help us, all right?
What is it, Jace?
Take a look in this showcase.
Well, I'll be.
I'd called his attention to something that stood out like a sore thumb. The store was run down, its shelves barely stocked with necessities. But there, before our eyes, in the dirty showcase with cracks running through the glass, was a brand new Hamilton wristwatch.
Reb is stocking some mighty fancy merchandise, ain't he, Miss Miller?
Oh, you mean that watch? Do you want to buy it?
All we want to know is where you got it.
Well, Reb took it in trade from a fellow who run a bill here.
What's his name?
Why, Carp's his last name. Don't know his first one. That watch ain't stolen, is it?
We can tell you that in a minute. Get it out of the case, Sheriff.
Right. You remember the serial number?
Yeah, I got it written down in my book. Pry the back cover off.
Fingernails won't do it. I'll have to find something.
When did this Carp bring the watch in, ma'am?
Yesterday, Sunday. Reb's always trusting people, you know. Carp owed him more than $20. Instead of cash, he give Reb the watch and a pair of wire clippers.
Wire clippers? You hear that, Sheriff?
I sure did. I'll have this watch case open in a minute.
Oh, I told Reb not to trust nobody. Reckon Carp wouldn't even trade here if he had cash. Couldn't give Reb no money. Oh, no, but when he come back yesterday, he had a new bridle for his horse. Reckon he had to pay cash for that someplace.
You're reckoning wrong, Mrs. Miller. You got that bridle the same way you got the watch and wire clippers.
Yeah, that does it. Here's the number, Jace. H427991.
H4279. That's it, all right. Carp's our boy. Where is he?
Well, he's out in the hills, I reckon. He saddled up and rode off after he brought our car back yesterday.
He had your car?
All Saturday night, Sheriff. You know Reb. He'll lend anything to anybody. That's why we ain't got nothing ourselves. Carp never even paid him for the gas he used up. Then he had the nerve to borrow his shirt and jeans while he used my tub to scrub out his old clothes. And water scarce as it is.
Don't need two guesses what he was scrubbing for, Sheriff.
You can say that again.
Come on, Sheriff. Let's get the horses and move.
Well, look here, don't you want to know what he looks like?
Thanks, ma'am, but that's something we already know. It was rough going through the Badlands, and the territory we had to cover was big. We met prospectors here and there, but not Carp. At the end of our second day, the trail led to rocky ground, thinning out in spots and disappearing in others. We kept going until the sun dipped under the rim and darkness came fast.
Oh, I can't see anything, Jace. If the tracks were heavier, we could keep going, but the ground's too hard. Can't pick up marks like that by flashlight.
I know. Better find a campsite. Rustle some grub.
You can do the eating. All I want is a place to rest my bones.
We'll find a spot when we get on level ground. Up, Charlie. Come on.
Come on up, boy.
Sheriff!
Yeah?
It's like somebody solved our camp problem for us. Over there at the right.
Sparks.
Fire behind those rocks. Circle around.
Carp, maybe.
Could be. It's a cinch it's somebody. Let's ride for it. Up, boy. Come on.
Come on, come on. See the fire now, Jace. Man getting up.
He can't see us yet. Here's us coming.
Looks like a big fella.
Carp is big. Mrs. Rogers said about 6'3".
His horse is there, Jace. He's moving over toward it.
He'll be able to see us in a minute. Drift away from me. Leave a little distance between us.
All right. Get over, boy.
That's good.
Seems to be waiting.
Yeah. Don't go all the way in mounted. Pull up and we'll walk to him. Whoa, Sharky. Oh, boy. All right. Keep the same distance.
Who's that out there?
We're looking for somebody.
Who?
I'll tell you in a minute. Keep your eyes open, Sheriff.
Maybe you better tell me now.
A fellow named Carp. Is that you?
What do you want to see Carp about?
It's kind of a personal matter. Unless you're Carp.
He's up behind his horse, Jason. You stay right where you are.
Hold it, Sheriff. Oh, Charlie. Oh.
Pull the rifle from his saddle holster. You fellas better get mounted and ride off. I don't like anybody sneaking around me at night.
And I don't like getting mounted and riding away from a fire. Makes my back too good a target.
Say you? You look like a Texas Ranger.
You got good eyes.
And I'm a sheriff, Carp, so don't try anything funny. Put that rifle down and let's have a talk.
What do you want? What do you want to see me about?
I want to invite you to a square dance.
You...
Hit the dirt, Sheriff!
He dropped down. Go behind fire, Jason. Can't see him.
Can't see us either. Must be close behind that fire. Shoot into it. Chip sparks off that heavy log that's burning. Might be able to shower him with a big hot foot.
I say when.
Let go.
That did it, Jason. He's up.
Drop your gun, Carp.
I did it. You hit it, Jason.
There he is. And there's his gun on the ground.
Gun stock split. That's what I hit, not him. Shock knocked him out.
Yeah. Just the same. He's out cold. While he's laying here, I might just as well get these cuffs on his hands.
Look out, Sheriff!
I'll cut your heart out.
Drop that knife. Let it go!
Oh, my arm.
Thank you, Jace. He almost planted that in my ribs.
Yeah, it's something he won't try again. Come on, Carp. Get up. Save your story for the jury, Carp. Maybe you can tell them how to be a big hit at a square dance. Come on, get moving.
Randolph Carp was tried and convicted for the murder of rancher Mort Rogers. The final piece of evidence against Carp was a bloody fingerprint on the steering column of the car he had borrowed from storekeeper Reb Miller. It was Carp's right thumbprint, and the blood specimen matched the type of the slain man. Carp was sentenced to Huntsville Penitentiary for a term of 99 years.
And now, here again is the star of our show, Joel McCrea.
A famous Texas Ranger was once asked what he considered the most important quality in a Ranger. Well, he pondered, I liken a good Ranger to that broad-brimmed hat of mine hanging over there on that old steer horn. It's made of some sort of fabric that holds up. It takes the toughest handling I've ever seen. Must be in the character of the material, I guess, because as old as that hat is, it's never showed a sign of going to pieces. I never did like hats or men that'll come unglued. Good night, folks. See you next week.
Next week, Joel McCrea in another authentic reenactment of a case from the files of the Texas Rangers. Joel McCrea is currently seen starring in the MGM production Stars in My Crown. Tonight's cast included Tony Barrett, Lou Krugman, Betty Moran, Parley Bear, Byron Kane, Joe Forte, and Jeanette Nolan. This story was transcribed and adapted by Joel Murcock, and the program was produced and directed by Stacy Keach. Hal Gibney speaking.
And enjoy the very best in radio. Be sure that you dial it right. Seems like you ought to hear Bill Baker every Sunday night.
The $64 question.
Every Sunday night, NBC.
Raymond Massey and Shirley Booth and Theater Guild, next on NBC.
HOJO Radio, we're your old-time radio headquarters. Stay tuned.
The National Broadcasting Company presents Joel McCrea in Tales of the Texas Rangers. Tonight, transcribed from Hollywood, another authentic reenactment of a case from the files of the Texas Rangers. Tales of the Texas Rangers, starring Joel McCrea as Ranger Jace Pearson. Texas, more than 260,000 square miles, and 50 men who make up the most famous and oldest law enforcement body in North America. Now, from the files of the Texas Rangers come these stories based on fact. Only names, dates, and places are fictitious for obvious reasons. The events themselves are a matter of record. Case for tonight, Joyride.
It is 9:40 p.m., December 3rd, 1946. The small town of Purdy, Texas is quiet and ready for sleep as the car turns off the state highway and into the main street. At the wheel of the car is a pimply-faced youth. Beside him, a young girl.
That car still behind us?
No, it kept right on the highway. What are you so jumpy about?
The way he was tagging us, I thought it might be the highway patrol.
You are getting chicken, ain't you, Chuck?
I ain't fixing to go back to no reform school, that's all.
Oh, stop worrying. This car ain't even reported stolen yet. You saw the owner go into the movie, didn't you?
Okay, Ruby, okay.
Fine joyride. Thought we was going to have fun. Ain't even got anything to drink.
I ain't got any money.
Didn't have no car either when we started. Ain't like you used to be, Chuck. We used to have lots of fun. Till you turn yellow.
Don't you go calling me that. I ain't got a gun, that's all.
I got one, Chuck, right here in my purse.
Where'd you get it?
Lifted it from my old man. What difference will it make where I got it, long as I got it? It's a liquor store up ahead, Chuck. See the sign?
I see it.
Can't hardly have a joyride without something to drink.
It's late. They roll up the sidewalks in a town like this. The place must be closed.
If it was closed, sign wouldn't be lit. Gonna stop or ain't you?
Sure, I'm gonna stop.
See? Storekeeper's still there. Can see him through the window.
Counting up money from his cash register.
Could have a real party with something to drink and some money.
Stay here. Keep the motor running. Give me the gun.
No, I'm gonna come in with you. I can handle the gun.
You crazy? Suppose he's got a gun, too.
Look, he's an old man. He wouldn't dare do nothing. Come on, Chuck. We can't just sit here.
You better not get rattled.
Look who's talking. You're coming or ain't you?
All right, I'm coming. But be careful.
I always wanted to do something like this.
Shut up.
Oh, howdy.
Howdy.
Well, we're just fixing to close. Heard your car pull up outside. I thought it was my old lady coming to get me. What can I do for you?
I'd like a fifth of that bonded bourbon.
Oh, you would, huh? How old are you, son?
21.
19 would be closer, wouldn't it? Maybe a year less than that for your lady friend here.
I said I was 21.
All right, boy. We'll say you're 21. And we'll also say that I'm closed for the night. Now you can just run along. 20, 19, 20.
We ain't running any place, mister.
Now you just get... What? Where'd you get that gun?
I made it out of old bottle top, stupid. He told you what we want. It's on the top shelf. Get up on the stool and get it.
All right. Just don't go getting nervous with that thing.
Get the money out of the register, Chuck.
Yeah, the money.
You ain't going to be happy about this when you see the inside of a jail.
Thanks for telling us. Because here's something you ain't going to be happy about.
No! Ruby! Ruby, you killed him!
I know, Chuck, I know.
Come on, we gotta get out of here.
No, that's what we come for. Grab a couple of bottles.
Ruby, are you crazy?
You're afraid, ain't you, Chuck? Get the bottles.
All right. Now, let's go. Come on.
I didn't know I'd have the nerve. But I did. I did. I always wondered what it'd feel like, Chuck. I always wondered.
The body of Malcolm Barnes, proprietor of the liquor store, was discovered by his wife less than 5 minutes after the killing. Sheriff Frank Corcoran was summoned. He immediately phoned for the help of a Texas Ranger. Ranger Jace Pearson was assigned, arriving at the scene of the crime at 1 a.m.
There's the Ranger. Coming through, folks. Howdy, Frank.
Oh, howdy, Jace. Was hoping they'd send you. Here's a body.
He the owner of the store?
Yeah, Malcolm Barnes. Wife found him just like he is at about 10 or 10. Usually closed just before 10. She'd always come pick him up in their car. Doc figured it couldn't have happened more than just a few minutes before she got here.
Where's the doc?
Drove over to see about the funeral parlor. Body will be taken there for autopsy when we finish. I've had everything photographed. Cash register's been rifled.
Uh-huh. Shot through the back 3 times.
So watch out for that broken glass.
Yeah, I'm watching.
Place sure smells with all the bottles smashed. Alcohol dries up fast.
Yeah, left big stain rings, though. Puddled right out to here before it dried out. Any of your deputies or anybody pick up any of those bottles that are cracked or broken?
No, I got here right after Mrs. Barnes. Nobody's touched a thing. Why?
Well, the floor is spotted past those stain marks. Look toward the door, a string of small spots, like something been carried that way, dripping.
Jace, I was careful to see that nothing was touched, that nobody stepped in where the liquor had been spilled.
Those spots might be a break for us then, because somebody carried a bottle out of here. It must have been cracked and leaking.
Mean the killer might have grabbed it up?
That's right. If it marked this floor, it'd mark the walk outside, too. Come on, let's take a look.
Spots run right to the door, all right. Lucky I told the deputies to keep everybody off the side of the place.
Yeah, careful where you step. I want to run a flashlight along the sidewalk here.
It's been mighty dry around here, Jace. Dust surface on the ground.
That'll help us. Yeah, it's here, all right. Look, little craters in the dust, dried out hollow.
Yeah, they only go a few feet. Marks end right here at the curb.
Well, that tells us something. Whoever was carrying that bottle got into a car. They weren't on foot.
Tire tracks aren't going to help us. Mess of them all around from cars driving in and out.
I wish our killer had been on foot, Frank.
Why?
That'd point to somebody who came from close by. Somebody in the town.
Car doesn't rule that out.
No, but it sure broadens the field. I'm going to call Austin and have a lab crew sent in. If we're lucky, they might lift a fingerprint or something for us to work on.
That's a good idea. Phone in the store. Over there.
Uh-huh.
You got anything in mind for us while we're waiting?
Yeah, after I call Austin, I want to check with local officers in every town around here. We're pretty sure the killer took liquor, and if he took it, he's going to drink it. We'll check on every case of drunk driving that turns up tonight in this county. Lights burned in the liquor store all through the night as the lab crew checked. Meanwhile, the sheriff and I covered more than 200 miles by car, investigating drunk driving cases reported by local constables and highway patrolmen.
Sun's coming up, Jason. We sure spent the night running into blind alleys. None of those drivers we saw could have been anywhere near Purdy at the time of the killing.
Well, our alibi's all checked out. Maybe the lab crew will have a lead for us when we get back to the liquor store.
Didn't you get some kind of report on the shortwave before, while I was dozing? I kind of remember you talking.
Yeah. An order to phone headquarters for a ballistic report. Barnes was killed by a 38 police special.
Well, that's our first lead.
We need more than that before we can...
KTXA to Unit 10.
Yeah, that's us.
KTXA to Unit 10.
Unit 10 to KTXA. Go ahead.
Highway Patrol Unit 109 requests Unit 10 to proceed to junction of Ranch Road 23 and State Highway 19 west of Bartonville to examine stolen car recovered at that point.
10-4. Does Unit 109 think stolen vehicle may have connection with this unit's current investigation of murder?
Unit 109 reports liquor bottles found in abandoned vehicle.
10-4. Unit 10 heading for rendezvous with 109 immediately. We'll keep you informed.
10-4.
Unit 10, clear.
KTXA Austin.
Hold tight, Frank. Got to swing around.
hope this is a break.
Better be. We need one. Highway Patrol Unit 109 was Tommy Manuelo's unit. We spotted his car, and he flagged us down near the junction of the ranch road. The stolen car he'd located was parked off the road in a small grove of trees.
I found it just before sunup, Chase. I was making the turnoff. My headlights reflected on the chrome. Just barely saw it. Then when I checked the license number, it was on my hot car sheet. Number came over by shortwave last night.
Now, what time last night this car was reported stolen?
I got the flash a little after 11 o'clock.
Barnes was killed before 10.
I know, but this car could have been missing from 8 o'clock on. Owner went to a picture show about that, and car was gone when it came out.
Where was the car taken from, Tommy?
Bartonville. Only 4 miles from here on the state.
About 60 miles from here to Purdy, Jace.
Yeah, but if the car was taken at 8 o'clock or a little after, the thief had plenty of time to drive to Purdy before 10 o'clock. KTXA said you found some liquor bottles in the car, Tommy.
Yeah, that's right. I'll show you. There you are. Empty fifth on the floor in the front seat, and there's one half empty there in the back.
I'll open the back door.
The government tax seal on that bottle isn't even broken.
No, I didn't notice, eh? Oh, I could empty half of it without breaking the seal and pulling the cork.
The bottle must be cracked. Stain around it on the floor mat where it's been leaking. This is what we've been looking for, Jace.
Yeah. Pick the bottle up, Frank. Don't touch the glass. Lift it with your fingers pinched around the tax stamp.
Right. Drip's all right. Chip out of the bottom. Wonder why it didn't all empty out.
Well, would have the bottle been standing up instead of lying flat. It emptied down until the liquor was even with the place the bottle was cracked. Then it couldn't run anymore until you picked it up.
Might get some prints off of it, or maybe the empty bottle in the front seat.
We can try. It's a cinch we're not going to get any from the steering wheel.
No, I noticed that right away. Not with the cloth cover around the wheel. Might get something from the dashboard or the inner door handles, but well, I don't know. Not often you pick up good prints on a car.
There's a piece of cleansing tissue on the floor there. Here.
Looks like lipstick stain on it.
That's what it is. Another little thing on the floor mat here.
Ah, gold bobby pin.
Yeah. Lipstick is kind of a light shade.
Could have been a woman in this, too, Jace.
Probably a blonde.
Of course, that bobby pin and the tissue might have come from the owner's wife or his girl.
Oh, I doubt that, Sheriff.
How come, Tommy?
Well, owner of the car is a colored man, Jace.
In just a moment, we will continue with Tales of the Texas Rangers, starring Joel McCrea as Ranger Jace Pearson.
3 chimes mean good times on NBC. In a short while, Theater Guild on the Air brings to radio listeners a delightful adaptation of Ring Lardner's famous comedy of the baseball world, Elmer the Great. Starring in the title role will be Hollywood favorite Paul Douglas, as a pitcher whose skill on the baseball diamond is exceeded only by his good nature and ability to attract trouble. That's later today for Elmer the Great, starring Paul Douglas, presented by Theater Guild on the Air.
We continue now with Tales of the Texas Rangers, and tonight's case, Joyride, an authentic story from the files of the Texas Rangers.
I put out a call for the lab crew to meet us at the stolen car when they finished checking the liquor store at Purdy. They joined us within 2 hours. Nothing had been found at the store that would help us, and it didn't take long to realize that we weren't going to get any evidence from the car or the bottles either.
Doesn't look like they're going to find anything, Jace.
They don't. Won't be their fault. No point in our hanging around here.
Want to drive back to Purdy now?
I think we'd do better if we drove into Bartonville.
Because the car?
It was stolen from Bartonville, then brought back here to a spot only 4 miles away from where it was taken. Figures that whoever stole it must live nearby, or the car would have been left someplace else.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. Let's try Bartonville.
Good. We're going to leave you, fellas. If you find anything, let us know by short wave.
Right. So long.
So long.
You going to try to run down that lipstick and bobby pin?
Gave Tommy Manuelo the tissue with the lipstick smear. It's been sent through to Austin. They'll establish the lipstick brand by chemical analysis. They'll also check on the manufacturer of the bobby pin.
Think it'll take long to get a report?
No, not long. Tommy may have it by the time we get into town. He'll be at the courthouse.
You got a plan mapped out?
Yeah, won't be too many places handling lipstick and bobby pins. We get the brand names, Tommy and I can check the stores and see if sales girls remember any women who use that shade of lipstick or the pins.
What'd I do? Check into the hotel and get some sleep?
No. We got one more thing to look for. The gun that killed Barnes. Check with a constable and get a list of anybody he knows who might own a .38 police special.
Yeah, that might uncover something. May have some records of people who've had guns like that being picked up on minor charges in the past.
It's worth checking. We match the bullet that killed Barnes, and we can make some work for a 12-man jury. Tommy Manuelo had the information on the lipstick and bobby pin examined by the Austin lab. We started a check of drugstores and general merchandise outlets that carried the items. We couldn't get any concrete information from sales girls or clerks.
Well, another drugstore on the next corner, Jace. Oh. You know, some of these sales clerks don't seem to have very long memories.
Can't blame them. Things we're tracing are both cheap items. Girl on her feet all day gets so she can't remember much except bunions.
I guess you're right. Well, I sure hope the sheriff is doing better than we are.
I hope so, too.
Hey, Jace, Tommy, wait up.
Hold it, Tommy. Here comes Frank now.
I've been tracking you for 20 minutes.
You finished checking already?
Yeah. And I come across something I think we ought to look into right away, Jace. There's a fella named Jim Hammer filed a report with a constable last night, just before midnight. Said a gun been stolen from his house, 38 police special.
Hey, isn't that what Barnes was killed with, Jay?
Yeah. Get any information on this Jim Hammer?
Yeah, sure did. He's night watchman around the cattle pens over to the auction barn. Told the constable he'd missed a gun when he was getting ready to go to work last night. Couldn't find it in the drawer he keeps it in.
You get Hammer's address?
Yep, 214 North Spruce.
Tommy, you keep checking the stores. We'll meet you at the courthouse later.
Right, Jace.
All right, Frank. I left my car on Main Street. Let's go.
Yeah?
I'd like to talk to Jim Hammer.
He ain't home.
You know where we can find him?
Over to the auction barn, maybe.
I thought he was the night watchman over there.
Yeah, he goes there during the day sometimes when there's a sale. There was auctioning this afternoon.
You look kind of young. You're not his wife, are you?
No, I'm his daughter, Ruby Hammer.
It's after 5 o'clock, Jace. Auction probably be over by now.
Yeah. You expect your father to come home to eat?
No, he'll probably spend some time chinning around the barn. And maybe get himself some grub in town and go right to work.
I see. I guess we might as well go over to the auction barn, Frank.
What'd you want to see my father about? Is it something about some stolen cattle or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Thanks, miss. Bye.
Bye, Ruby.
Bye. If you miss my father, I'll tell him you was here.
Thanks. Where's the auction barn?
West end of town.
Jim Hammer wasn't hard to find. He was pointed out to us talking to cattlemen who'd bought stock at the auction and were waiting for a chance to load their purchases on their trucks at the end of a chute. We called him off to the side.
Well, Sheriff, Ranger, what can I do for you?
Constable says you had a gun stolen from your home last night.
Oh, that gun wasn't stolen at all.
Huh?
Reckon I just didn't look sharp enough last night. Found it this afternoon, but in a different drawer from where I usually keep it.
Is that the gun you're carrying right there in your holster?
Yeah.
You mean to say you just took a look in one drawer last night before coming to work and reported that gun stolen without being sure?
Well, I was sure last night. I reckon I just overlooked it, that's all.
It's pretty hard to overlook a 38 police special. You couldn't have looked very hard.
Well, I all but emptied the bureau out. I was in a hurry to get to work. I guess I just plain missed it, that's all. Ain't no reason for you to jump on a man.
You reported to the constable when you thought the gun was missing. Now, how come you didn't let him know you'd found it?
Well, I suppose I should have. I didn't think it was no rush. Besides, what's the harm? It's my gun, ain't it?
Let's have it.
Well, sure,
Don't you pull it. Just turn around. I'll take it myself.
Hey, what?
He said turn around.
Okay.
When'd you fire this gun last, Hammer?
I can't even remember the last time. Ain't had no call to fire it.
Haven't, huh? Smell this, Frank.
Yeah, it's been used all right not long ago.
You're crazy, I tell you. I ain't fired that gun in months.
Somebody has. You better come with us.
Come where with you?
To the courthouse, Hammer, until we check on a few things.
Check on what?
A liquor store owner named Barnes was killed last night in Purdy. Shot 3 times through the back by a 38 police special.
Are you trying to frame me for something? I was nowhere near Purdy last night.
We know you filed a report with the constable around midnight, Hammer. But where were you between 9 and 11 o'clock last night?
I was home, sleeping. My daughter can tell you that.
Well, go ahead, Hammer. What are you stopping for?
My daughter wasn't home. I just remembered she went out about 7 o'clock.
And nobody saw you during those hours, huh?
No, nobody. But I was home, I tell you. You gotta believe me. That gun ain't been fired.
If we're wrong, you got nothing to worry about. Come on.
Yeah, have to get that gun to your lab, Jace. Regular flight to Austin goes out in about 45 minutes.
Good. The boys in ballistics can test fire it and check the slug with the ones taken out of Barnes. If this is the murder weapon, they'll tell us.
I tell you it can't be.
Our lab doesn't make any mistakes, Hammer. If you're telling the truth, there's a little test you can volunteer to take. We have a lab crew working nearby right now. They'll give you a diphenylman test.
What's that?
Just a matter of pouring a chemically treated wax on your hand. When they peel it off, it'll show traces of nitrate if you fired a gun recently.
I haven't, I tell you.
I heard you. Now I'd like to hear it from a lab man, just to be sure. We got the gun on the night plane to Austin. The stolen car had been brought into a garage in town. We waited for the lab crew to finish with it and then had one of the men go to work on Hammer's hands. By 10 p.m., we had the answers. 2 answers that didn't fit each other.
What are you keeping me here for, Ranger? You heard what the lab man said. My hands are clean. Wasn't no nitrate on them.
That doesn't settle everything, Hammer. While he had you in the next room going over your hands, I had a phone report from Austin on your gun.
You'd better talk up, Hammer. Your gun's been identified as a murder weapon.
That's a lie.
You weren't in bed at 10 o'clock last night. You were in Purdy driving a stolen car, and there was a woman with you.
That ain't so, I tell you.
You run around with any blonde women?
The only blonde woman I ever run around with was my wife. She died 6 years ago. That gun was missing from my house last night. Somebody must have taken it, then put it back again.
Oh, sure.
My hands was clean, wasn't they?
Howdy, Jace. Sheriff?
Oh, Tommy, I almost forgot about you.
Find anything, Tommy?
I think so. There's a 5 and dime store. It was closed when I got to it, but I got the address of the woman who works the cosmetic counter. Went out to see her. They handle the lipstick and pins we've been checking on. She gave me the names of a few women that she remembers who buy both. Here's a list.
Well, read off the names, Jace. Maybe if Hammer's girlfriend is listed, he'll admit he knows her.
Well, there's one name on here he'll admit to knowing all right.
That's what you think.
That's what I know. It's your daughter, Ruby Hammer. The sheriff and I drove Hammer back to his house, but Ruby wasn't there. We waited around, looking through the house.
First you tried to pin it on to me, and now it's my daughter. Are you crazy? She's only 18 years old.
Was she with you last night?
No, she was out on a date.
With who?
Well, how should I know? All I know is she wouldn't get into no trouble like this.
I've heard that same speech in 100 courtrooms, Hammer.
Jace, come here a minute.
Yeah? What is it?
Girl's coat in this closet. Smell.
You keep any liquor in the house, Hammer?
No, never.
There's something else, Jace. Photograph.
Yeah. Hammer's daughter and some boy.
Let me see that again. I know this kid, the boy. I sent him to reform school 3 years ago. His name's Chuck Allenby.
What was the charge against him?
Something that fits this case like a glove. Automobile theft.
And my daughter wouldn't go out with nobody like that.
Of course not, Hammer. She just got a habit of posing for pictures with people she wouldn't go out with. I'm going to get my car out of sight, Frank, and we'll sit down and wait for Ruby's date to bring her home.
Somebody's coming down the street, Jace.
Yeah, I hear him. It's after midnight. They'll think you're at work, Hammer. They may come in, so keep quiet, hear me? You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. They're coming.
Yeah, quiet. They have to come into the hall. They won't see us in the living room with the lights off.
I can't see nothing, Ruby. Switch on the light.
I ain't staying long enough to need the light. What all you are can stand.
What's the matter with you?
What's the good of having money if you ain't gonna spend any of it?
Spend it? But wait a while. I ain't got a job. I start spending money and people are gonna wonder where I got it.
All right. While you're waiting, don't expect me to wait. I can go out with somebody else, you know, somebody who's got a car every night, or who ain't afraid to get
Ruby! Ruby, shut up!
Don't move anybody.
That means you, Chuck. Let go of that door.
What are they doing here, Pop?
They're after him.
Was he?
You stay out of this, Hammer.
Couldn't stay out of trouble, could you, Chuck?
I didn't do nothing, Sheriff. Let me go.
Hold still. That's quite a roll of bills you had in your pocket, boy.
I found that money.
Where? In the cash register over in Purdy, after you killed an old man?
So that's why you wanted my father's gun. What are you...
Tell him, Ruby. If he had my gun, you tell him.
Last night, he wanted to borrow it just for fun, he said. And then he stole a car and made me go with him over to Purdy. He left me parked someplace and walked away. Then after a while, he come back with some whiskey. I didn't drink none of it, but he did.
She's lying.
You keep quiet. You say he didn't park near the store?
No, he walked from where he left me. I don't even know what he done.
You're lying, Ruby. When the old man was killed, whoever gunned him ran out of the store with a dripping bottle and got into a car not more than 10 feet from the entrance.
And I didn't shoot him. She did.
He's lying. Ruby's only a little girl. You can prove he's lying. Give him the same test you give me on his hands.
What kind of test?
With a pour wax on your hands, you can tell if you fired a gun.
Ruby, come back here. Hold still, Chuck. Get away from that stove, Ruby.
No, Ruby, don't.
Come away from there.
Oh, Ruby. Ruby, why'd you do it, Ruby? What'd you do it
Better
for?
save that, Hammer. If you got any butter, get it fast.
Yeah.
No sudden move, Chuck.
I won't try nothing.
What you do, Jason?
Ran into the kitchen here and pulled the lid off the cook stove and jammed her hand into the hot
Here.
coals.
Here's the butter, Ray. Here's the butter.
Thanks.
Oh, Ruby.
I can fix that burn a little with this, Ruby. Doc can fix it for you better later on at the jail.
Chuck Allenby and Ruby Hammer were found guilty of the murder of storekeeper Barnes. Allenby, who turned state's witness, was sentenced to a 30-year term at Huntsville. Ruby Hammer pulled 50 years in the women's prison at Goree.
And now, here again, is the star of our show, Joel McCrea.
Folks, tonight marks the concluding performance, for a while at least, of Tales of the Texas Rangers. We've really enjoyed bringing these stories to you and hope that someday we'll be back with you again. To NBC and its affiliated stations, to Colonel Homer Garrison, Jr., Chief of the Texas Rangers, to Captain M.T. Lone Wolf Gonzalez, our technical advisor, and to all the Texas Rangers and members of the Department of Public Safety, our grateful thanks. And we're particularly grateful to those of you who've taken the time to send us your cards and letters. After all, they are the only sure way of telling that you liked our show. Thanks, folks. Thanks a lot. Good night.
You have just heard Joel McCrea in another authentic reenactment of a case from the files of the Texas Rangers. Joel McCrea will soon be seen starring in the Universal International Technicolor production Cattle Drive. Tonight's case included Tony Barrett, Sam Edwards, Peggy Weber, John Frank, Barney Phillips, and Bill Johnstone. This story was transcribed and adapted by Joel Murcott, and the program was produced and directed by Stacy Keach. This is Hal Gibney speaking.
Enjoy the very best in radio. Be sure that you dial it right. Seems like the very best in radio. Morning, noon, and night is from this station. Morning, noon, and night, NBC.
Paul Douglas and Theater Guild, next on NBC.
Our next broadcast starred James Stewart as a drifting cowboy in the final years of the Wild West. Episodes range from straight Western drama to whimsical comedy. It was created by Frank Burt, who also wrote many of the episodes, and lasted only one season of 39 episodes on NBC. It ran from September 20th, 1953 to June 24th, 1954. We present to you The Six Shooter on HOJO Radio.
James Stewart as the Six Shooter. The man in the saddle is angular and long-legged. His skin is sun-dyed brown. The gun in his holster is gray steel and rainbow mother of pearl, its handle unmarked. People call them both the Six Shooter. Coleman, America's leader in modern automatic home heating equipment, and the National Broadcasting Company present James Stewart as the Six Shooter, a transcribed series of dramas based on the life of Britt Ponset, the Texas plainsman who wandered through the Western Territories, leaving behind a trail of still-remembered legends. Now, in just a moment, immediately following this important announcement, you will hear Act One of The Six Shooter. Last year, thousands of Americans who tried to get away with carelessness on the highways were killed or permanently injured in traffic accidents. And remember, accidents don't always happen to the other fellow. Unless you are meticulous in your observance of the rules of highway safety, you and your loved ones are vulnerable to the menace of traffic accidents. Every motorist should take an active role in supporting the safety movement in his or her community. Encourage driver training in your high schools. Teach your children the rules of safety on the highway. Remember, the life you save may be your own. Now, Act One of The Six Shooter, starring James Stewart.
I had a grandstand seat, a rocking chair on the front porch of the Temple City Hotel. Not that there was much to watch. A couple of women looking at the bonnets in the windows of Bradley's Mercantile, and some kids playing mummy peg over in the alley next to the bank, and the checker game in the shadow of a big elm across the street. But it was a couple of days before I was due to pick up some cattle in Atterbury for Mrs. Pritchard, and, well, Temple City seemed as good a place as any to stop over. I was considering taking a little nap when I saw Will. At least that's who I thought it was. He was coming out of the general store carrying a box of groceries. I couldn't be sure, though, because just as he started to climb into a wagon, another man rode up alongside and shut off my view.
Well, look who's in town. You doing the marketing, Will? Thought the women usually did that. But I guess in your case, it ain't such a bad idea to switch things around.
I was hoping I'd run into you, Temple. 2 of my cows have been killed this week.
You mean your wife's cows, don't you, Will? It wasn't 2, 3. The boys found another one grazing on my side of the creek this morning. You're going to have to do something about that fence of yours. You won't have no stock left at all.
That fence was all right yesterday.
Maybe. But this is today.
Now, you listen to me, Temple.
I figure it's about time you done the listening, Will. I want your wife's ranch. Ain't made no bones about it. She was willing to sell until you came along.
She ain't willing now.
I'll give you $2 an acre. That's more than a fair price. Anybody will tell you that.
We're not going to be shoved off that land, not for $2 an acre or 20.
Then maybe I'd better talk to Sarah, seeing as how it's her property.
No! I'm warning you. You stay away from our ranch and our cattle, or I'll...
Well, go on. Tell me what you'll do, Will. I'd be real interested to find out.
Come on, Bill.
If it was Sarah giving him the warning, I might take it seriously, seeing as how she wears the pants in the family.
The wagon moved in closer where I was sitting. I got a good look at him now. He'd changed a lot since last time we met up. He was older. There were a couple of those squint wrinkles between his eyes. Even so, he still could have been more than 23 or 4, seeing as how he was only about 20 when we worked on the West Star Roundup together. Hey, Will! I thought he'd recognize me, but I guess I'd changed some, too. I wasn't getting aged or nothing like that, but I'd ripened up a bit, I guess. Anyway, Will kind of glanced my way and then drove on. And from the way he was holding those reins, I had a pretty good idea of what he was thinking. This Temple fella, he pushed him too far. And if I knew Will, he was getting ready to do something about it. Well, there was no point in trying to run him down now. We'd probably meet up later. So I went into the hotel and looked around for a place to sit down. The clerk behind the desk was playing a game of solitaire.
Howdy, Mr. Ponset. Something I can do for you?
No, don't think so.
Room all right?
Yeah, it's fine. Room's fine.
Real pleasure having you staying with us. Anything you'd like, what do you think?
The Black Queen.
Huh?
It plays on the King of Diamonds.
Oh, thank you. Like to look at the Denver paper? It just came in on the stage.
No, thanks. Just the same. I was sort of figuring on a little snooze. A little too much racket outside.
I know what you mean. Noah Temple's got a voice that carries all right. I could hear him and Will arguing clear in here.
Yeah.
Don't amount to nothing now, Mr. Ponset. They've been squaring off like that ever since Will moved to town and married Sarah Blake.
Oh?
Oh, looks like I'm stuck. Good thing I'm not playing at the gambling hall. I'd be out $50. You see, Noah's got the idea of buying Sarah's ranch, and there ain't going to be no stopping him until he buys it.
Will he need her land for any reason?
Sure thinks he does. Now, if I can just get me the ace of spades. 40 years ago, Noah's grandfather started this town. He owned all the acreage between the foothills and the creek out south. Old Temple City was named for him, as a matter of fact.
Is that so?
But the old man's son, Fred, well, he wasn't much good. First thing you know, he'd sold off nearly everything his dad had left him. When Noah took over, he swore he'd get all the Temple property back again. Guess it sort of stuck in his craw that Temple's wasn't the biggest outfit in the valley no more. Doggone that Black Seven.
How's Noah Temple been doing?
Well, first folks didn't take him serious. They thought he was just a talker like his father, but he sure fooled them. Today he's got more acres than his granddaddy ever had. There's only one piece of the original Temple setup he ain't been able to buy back. That land of Sarah.
Oh?
Sure was a surprise when Will wouldn't let her sell it. Nobody ever figured he'd stand up to Noah. A man like him.
Was there something wrong with him?
7, 8, 9. What's that? Oh, well, you see, Mr. Ponset, Will's a coward. You see, as he's yellow clear through. He won't ever wear a gun. If there's a posse being formed, but he don't go along. And if there's a fight, he lays low. You can call him names, you can insult him. The way Noah Temple did, he just takes it.
Gee, that sure don't sound like him to me.
You know Will, Mr. Ponset?
Used to. A couple of years ago, we worked around up together.
Oh, that must have been before he moved to Temple City.
Yeah, it's down in Texas. Back there, Willie Techman wasn't afraid of nobody or nothing. And for a youngster, he's mighty fancy with a gun.
Techman?
That's right, yeah.
Oh, but that ain't his name, Mr. Ponset. Will's name is Fetter.
Oh?
Yeah, Will Fetter. Oh, no wonder you were surprised about him being yellow. You got the wrong man.
Uh-huh.
Well, they must look alike. This friend of yours and Will Fetter.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I do, yeah. I went upstairs to my room, started to pull my boots off. You know, it's funny. I hadn't been doing anything but sit all day, and my feet hurt worse than I've been walking 20 miles. Oh. I looked out the window. The sun is just about even with the church steeple. So it'd be around 3 o'clock. I had a couple hours before supper, so I let myself down in a bed. Yeah? Well, come on in.
Mr. Ponset?
Oh, excuse me, ma'am. I didn't know it was a lady.
I'm sorry to bother you, Mr. Ponset.
Oh, not at all. I wasn't exactly what you'd call busy. Won't you sit down here?
Thank you.
Yeah, wait, I'll get those boots out of your way.
Mr. Ponset, I'm Will's wife.
I'm pleased to meet you, ma'am.
Will told me you were in town today. He saw you. And you saw him, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am. At least I thought I did.
Well, you can't tell anyone he's here, Mr. Ponson.
Oh?
You didn't come to Temple City looking for Will, did you? Will thought maybe that was the reason. We heard about what happened in Prescott last winter when you came across Bar Cleaver.
Yeah, well, you heard wrong, ma'am. I didn't come across Cleaver. He came across me. And as for Will,
He's made a new life here. A good life. If he has to go back to prison...
Prison? Oh.
Well, you knew about the bank robbery in Austin and about him breaking out before... You knew, didn't you?
No, ma'am. No, I haven't been back that way since...
Then you wouldn't have told the marshal? But we thought... We were sure... What have I done?
No, just take it easy, ma'am.
Well, if I hadn't come to see you, nobody would have known it was Will Techman.
Things have a way of coming out sooner or later. How much longer was Will supposed to serve?
2 years.
Uh-huh. Well, that's not so long when you're young.
We're going to have a baby, Mr. Ponson. But I almost wouldn't want to have him if he was going to grow up knowing his father'd been in prison. Why should Will have to go back? Why?
Well, I guess maybe you'd better ask the judge who sentenced him, ma'am.
What I mean is they say it's so a man will live a decent, respectable life when he comes out. And Will's already living a decent, respectable life. He works hard. He never makes trouble for anybody. He doesn't even wear a gun, and he promised me he never will.
Was that your idea, not wearing a gun?
Before we were married, he told me about the trouble in Austin and how he broke out of prison. I suppose I should have made him go back. But I was so much in love I couldn't. So I asked him to give me his word he'd never use a gun again. Never even carry one.
Well, it must have been kind of hard on a fellow like Will to keep holding himself back that way.
It hasn't been easy. I've heard what men like Noah Temple call him. But Will takes it. He's kept his word.
This fellow Temple, the way he and Will were going at it today, it sounded like they were heading for trouble.
Won't be anything serious. Will just doesn't want us to be pushed off of the ranch. You can't hold that against him.
No, guess not.
Then you won't tell the marshal over in Atterbury? Or anybody?
Well, I don't imagine Marshal Sanders would like me mixing into his business. This is his district. I guess he can take care of it. Anyway, he has so far. But now, look here,
Thank you, Mr. Ponson.
Well,
Thank
now,
you.
Now,
and thanks for Will, too.
Wait, Well, after all, most of what she said was true. Sending Will back to prison might do more harm than good. And it wasn't up to me to sit judgment on him. I was going to be leaving town in a day or so anyway, and if anything happened after that, it wouldn't be my concern. So, of course, a man does have certain duties even if he's not wearing a badge. A man who spots a wanted criminal, he's supposed to report it. And I always had before. I scraped some of the mud off my boots and washed my face, put on a clean shirt, and went downstairs into the lobby. The clerk was still playing solitaire.
Just beat myself again, Mr. Ponson. I was playing in the gambling hall. I'd be ahead about $140. Pretty good for one afternoon, eh?
Yeah, real good. About time for supper?
Yeah, go right on in. Molly will fix you up. Got baked ham tonight.
Fine.
Oh, say, Mr. Ponson?
Yeah?
Remember us talking about Will Fetter and him being afraid to carry a gun?
Uh-huh.
Well, the darndest thing just happened. Oh, it wasn't any more than 15 minutes ago. I guess everybody's talking about it. He went into Bradley's mercantile and he bought himself a carbine.
Oh?
Of course, he's just trying to bluff Noah Temple. Folks are giving 10 to 1. Will don't even know how to load a rifle. Where you going, Mr. Ponson? Dining room's over there.
I guess maybe I'm not hungry yet. Say, whereabouts is Will's ranch? I think maybe I'll take a little ride. Maybe work up an appetite.
We'll return to James Stewart as the six-shooter in a moment. First, a word from Coleman, America's leader in modern automatic home heating equipment.
When winter comes, does your house shrink like this?
Well, I guess it's time to close off that back room. There's just no way to heat it.
Don't deprive yourself of valuable living space. Get a Coleman automatic heater and enjoy new warmth in the hardest-to-heat room. Get your Coleman oil or gas heater now during Coleman's big bonus sale. You'll get 3 bonuses. A new low price. Yes, now you can get a dependable Coleman oil or gas heater at a new low price. A new low operating cost. Coleman saves you up to 25% on heating bills because Coleman gives you maximum heat from your fuel.
And a 32-piece set of Libby safe-edge glassware worth $14. It's free with your new Coleman heater.
Get 3 big bonuses during Coleman's big bonus sale. The sale is for a limited time only, so see your Coleman dealer tomorrow. Look for his name in your telephone directory.
Remember, comfort costs so little with a Coleman. Now, Act 2 of The Six-Shooter, starring James Stewart as Britt Ponson.
The Better Ranch was about 2 miles south of town. And from the outside, looked neat and comfortable, well kept up. The ground stretching out behind it was good grazing land. Oh, it was worth at least $5 an acre, maybe more. I tied Scar to a cottonwood in the yard and walked up to the door.
It's about time you got home, Will. That was... Oh, Mr. Ponson.
Evening, ma'am.
Come on in.
Will's not here?
No, he was gone when I came back. He must be out tending the stock.
Uh-huh.
What's wrong, Mr. Ponson? You haven't changed your mind, have you?
Where's the Temple Ranch lie from here?
It's all around us. On all 4 sides of our land.
And Temple's ranch house, where's that?
East. Due east. But what's that got to do with it? What's happened?
Will was in town this evening. He bought a rifle.
I don't believe it. He promised me. You're wrong, Mr. Ponson. Will isn't gunning for Noah Temple. He's out tending stock. Well, he'll be home any minute. You'll see.
Maybe.
Where are you going?
I hear Temple's got quite an outfit. It's worth paying it a visit.
You won't find Will there. He gave me his word he'd never use a gun again. You won't find him.
I headed due east for about a quarter of a mile, and when I came to the edge of Will's property, I saw a sorrel tethered to a fence post. Looked like Will had decided to go the rest of the way on foot, so I climbed out of the saddle and looked around. There was a big break in the fence, but the cattle hadn't made it. That barbed wire had been cut. And there were 4 heifers and a couple of steers lying just over the temple boundary. Well, there just wasn't much question about it. They'd been shot. So I crawled through the opening and went right past a big sign that said, Temple Ranch, trespassers will be shot. I found some footprints. I figured they were Will's. About 30 minutes later, I caught sight of the ranch house. It was built about halfway up the side of a pretty steep hill, big, sprawling building. There was a light inside, and I could just barely make out Noah sitting at a desk working on some papers. But where was Will? He had plenty of time to get here. And I heard his step and swung around. There was one of Temple's hands pacing up and down near the stable alongside the house. The way he was holding the rifle, it looked like an army sentry instead of a cowhand. All of a sudden, he gave a little gasp. I saw a shadow tighten around his throat. The sentry went down, and there was a struggle. Not very noisy, though. Not noisy enough for Temple to hear it. And then Everything was quiet. The shadow stood up. It was Will Tackman. He was inching his way toward the house, toward the window where Temple was sitting. I came up behind him. I pulled out my gun. He was starting to aim his rifle. Will. Drop it, Will. Yeah.
I might have known you'd turn up.
Give me your rifle, Will.
Could get off a shot.
At me, but not at Temple.
Temple gets our ranch and I go to prison, is that it?
Now, we'll talk all about that as soon as we get back to your place. Now, come on. I carried Will's rifle and led the way. About 20 minutes later, we passed another one of Temple's guards. He was dozing, didn't notice it. Still had a couple of miles to go before we'd reach the fence where we'd left the horses. Will was sort of panting for breath. All right, let's rest a minute.
Okay.
I thought you promised your wife you'd never take up a gun again, Will.
Mr. Ponset, You see them dead heifers over by the fence?
Yeah?
Had a bout wipes I heard of. I found them. I had to do something. As long as you knew who I was anyway, as long as I was going back to prison, I had to fix it so Sarah wouldn't have the ranch taken away from her.
You wouldn't think a piece of land would be worth everybody getting so excited about.
I've been shoved around, Britt. Ever since I was a kid, I've been shoved around. Even when I held up the Austin Bank, I wasn't the one who...
The one who what?
Nothing. Since I married Sarah, well, I've had to take a lot that other men wouldn't put up with because of her and because of her knowing what I was. This thing with Temple got under my skin. I made up my mind to stand up to him. A man's got to take a stand sometime, somewhere.
Oh, I'm sorry, Will, but... Hey, what's that?
Get down, Will.
Yep.
We've got you dead to rights, brother. Trespassing.
I ain't alone, Temple. Britt Ponset's with me.
Ponset?
That's right, Temple.
I might have known Feder wouldn't come alone. Well, I guess 4 of us can take care of 2 of you. He won't be much use to you, Ponset. Not enough fight. Okay, boys, move in.
I could see one of his boys firing from behind a tree behind him. So I aimed at his arm. And the bullet hit him on the shoulder and he lurched forward. That meant only 3 of them now, but they were close. Will still didn't say anything. He was waiting for me to make the next move. I tossed him the rifle.
Thanks, Britt.
He got to his knees and started across a little clearing. He was still all right when he died behind a boulder. I knew where he was heading, too. Noah Temple had been shooting from behind a clump of pines about 50 yards back. For a couple of minutes, I didn't get a chance to watch him. Temple's 2 guards were on either side of me now. One of them was more than 8-10 feet away. And I saw the barrel of his carbine rise up from behind the bush. There's only 1 guard left. About that time, it seemed like he'd had enough. Anyway, I moved across the clearing toward the pine trees where Will had disappeared. Pulled up behind a rock. Well, there was Noah Temple. Crouched down low, his gun ready. A little bit of movement in the brush caught my eye. It was Will. He was right behind Temple. And Temple didn't know it. He was looking my way. Will had a perfect shot. I saw Will's finger curl around the trigger. But Will didn't fire. I couldn't figure out what had gotten into him. He didn't fire. And then he threw his rifle to one side and let out a yell.
Temple!
Temple turned and got off a shot. Well, he was surprised he couldn't do much aiming. And then Will was on top of him, twisting the gun out of his hands. And after that, I saw a fight the like of which I'd never seen before in my life. There, Will hit Temple across the face, and he went over backwards. And then Temple kicked, and his foot lifted Will right off the ground. But before Temple could pick himself up, Will was right on top of him again. And Temple tried to reach for his gun, and Will brought his boot right down on Temple's hand. Temple quit reaching. And then Will backed away and let Temple up again. And as soon as Temple was steady again, Will drove his fist right into Temple's stomach. And Temple's hand flew apart, and he was wide open. Will hit him again, and hit him again, and again. And finally, Temple managed to send his fist into Will's face, and Will looked like maybe he was going to go down, but he still had a fight left to land a right that snapped Temple's head right back. And it was Temple that toppled over, and then I knew he wasn't going to get up again, not for quite a while. Feel better, Will?
Yeah. Yeah, lots better.
You had your chance to kill him. You had a perfect shot. You didn't have to fight him this way.
It's the only way I could fight him, Brett.
Huh?
I had him in my sights. Something kept me from pulling the trigger. Maybe you'll think I'm crazy, but I kept remembering what I'd promised Sarah. I wouldn't use a gun again. I couldn't pull that trigger, Brett. I just couldn't.
Uh-huh. Well, let's see if we can't get Temple here to a doctor. You know, it looks like he needs one. We left Noel with the doc in Temple City, and I started off for Atterbury. I've made up my mind to tell the marshal about Will, all about him. Sarah and Will, they agreed. They think I should, too. But then again, the way I see it right now, the state of Texas is looking for a gun-toting bank robber named Will Techman, and I just don't think Marshal Sanders would be very much interested in a law-abiding rancher who's called Will Fetter.
I'd like to take a minute here to remind you about some of the great entertainment that's in store for you on NBC Radio. Now, for most of us, Monday evening is a time to relax, sit back, and take it easy. NBC had exactly that in mind when they designed their Monday night of entertainment. You'll want to listen to the delightful music of the Railroad Hour as they resume their fall schedule of popular operettas that have entertained for so many years. Gordon MacRae will be your host and star, and during weeks to come, you'll have many charming guest stars to add to your listening pleasure with their famous voices. And you'll want to relax to the melodies of the Firestone Orchestra and Chorus under the direction of Howard Barlow on The Voice of Firestone. Another great Monday night favorite is the Telephone Hour, with its wonderful program of music directed by Donald Voorhees. Yes, every Monday night, hear these three fine musical programs on NBC Radio. Coleman, America's leader in modern automatic home heating equipment, and the National Broadcasting Company have presented James Stewart as the Six-Shooter. Mr. Stewart may currently be seen in the Universal International picture Thunder Bay. Others in the cast were Michael Ann Barrett, Herb Ellis, Howard McNear, and Will Wright. The Six-Shooter is an NBC Radio Network production in association with Review Productions, and it is based on a character created by Frank Burt, and today's transcribed story was written by him. Special music was by Basil Aslam, and the entire production is under the direction of Jack Johnstone. All characters and incidents were fictitious, and any resemblance to actual characters or incidents is purely coincidental. Hal Gibney speaking.
Stay tuned to HOJO Radio.
In just a moment, you'll hear James Stewart as the six-shooter, just one of the many great stars brought to you Sundays on NBC. Every Sunday, hear Hume Cronin and Jessica Tandy in The Marriage, Sir Laurence Olivier on Theatre Royal, Lawrence Tibbett with the Golden Voices, Helen Hayes, Frederick March, Rex Harrison, and Lily Palmer on the NBC Star Playhouse. All of them heard only on NBC. James Stewart as the six-shooter. The man in the saddle is angular and long-legged. His skin is sun-dyed brown. The gun in his holster is gray steel and rainbow mother of pearl, its handle unmarked. People call them both the six-shooter. Coleman, America's leader in modern automatic home heating equipment, and the National Broadcasting Company present James Stewart as the six-shooter, a transcribed series of dramas based on the life of Britt Ponce, the Texas plainsman who wandered through the Western Territories, leaving behind a trail of still-remembered legends. Now, in just a moment, immediately following this important announcement, you'll hear Act One of The Six-Shooter. Have you heard about the Joneses? They're going to Europe for 6 weeks. They'll start in England, then visit Holland, Belgium, France, and Italy. It'll be a wonderful trip, a lifelong dream come true. And someday, it can be your turn to do just as they did. Put your money where it will earn $4 for every $3 you invest in United States savings bonds. Start planning today. United States savings bonds can take you to Europe, too. Now, Act One of The Six-Shooter, starring James Stewart.
There were over 400 head in the macadam herd, 400 white-faced Texas cattle, and only 3 of us to shove them along the trail to Abilene. But the macadam's boys had promised me a tenth of whatever the herd brought, so I signed on for the drive. And it looked like I was going to earn the money, too. There'd been a cloudburst the second night out. Now it sounded like we might be heading into some more bad weather. The sky was all black and purple, and the wind began blowing up little balloons of dust. Thunder made the steers restless. They still remember that first storm. They didn't like the idea of going through another one.
All right, come on now. Come on, cattle. Hi-ya. Hi, cattle.
I can see the rain now. It hadn't hit us yet. It's still a couple of miles ahead, but I can see it real plain. Streaking down across the sky like little silver lines on a gray blackboard. In the canyon where we were, the sun was still shining. It gave me a sort of funny feeling. Rain and sunshine all at once, sort of like being 2 places at the same time. Right McAdams, he came pounding up from behind and reined up alongside of me and Star.
Oh, boy. What do you think, Britt?
Well, if that wind don't change, we'll be getting wet inside of 15 minutes.
Don't look like it'll change.
No, afraid not.
And I guess we might as well keep on going. It'll be easier to handle if we're out of this canyon when the storm hits.
Yeah.
I'll ride up and tell Norm.
Okay.
Norm! Hey! Yeah? Get the lead out. Keep moving.
Weak enough for you?
Do as I tell you. Stop beeping.
Okay. Come on, move it.
Norm will speed him up, Britt. I'm going back and see that there ain't no stragglers.
Want me to give Norm a hand?
No, I can handle it myself. It's about time he learned how.
All right, you're the boss.
Yeah. Just keep an eye on him, Britt.
Sure. That lightning had hit a pine tree about 50 yards up the side of the canyon. And when it toppled over, it started a couple of boulders rolling down the side of the ravine toward us. That was all the cattle needed to set them off. One of the longhorns took a look at the rock and let out a bawl that told the other animals to get out of his way.
Hey, stop him, Norm! Stop him before they stand here!
Life circled around and galloped over toward his brother. But Norm wasn't waiting for him. No. I saw him head up the slope of the canyon, and it looked to me like he didn't intend to stop anything. All he cared about was getting out of the way. So I dug my heels into Star's flanks. We rode right into the middle of the herd. If I could split them in half, only part of them would tear loose, even in a stampede. Life was in front of the herd now. The lead steer turned off. couple of more shots, and the rest will follow. There we are. I knew there wasn't going to be any stampede. Not now, anyway. Rife had stopped them just in time. How's night going, Rife?
Somebody had to do it.
Yeah.
What happened to you?
Horse bolted. Almost threw me.
Yeah?
Guess you were scared.
The horse?
That's what I said.
Yeah. Well, here comes the rain.
It looks like this is the tail end of it, though. Probably would have been more in a shower.
We better keep moving anyhow. You take over up here, Britt. Norm will riding back with me.
Sure.
Your horse all right now?
I guess so.
Okay, let's go.
About half an hour later, the rain let up. It was nearly sundown, and a green-yellow rainbow arched up over the hills to the east, and Rife decided to make camp for the night. Neither of the McAdams brothers said much during supper, and afterwards Norm sort of moved off a couple of yards from the campfire and started playing his mouth organ.
What you staring at, Rife?
Huh?
You heard me.
I don't know what you mean.
You've been watching me ever since this afternoon when my horse bolted. You've been looking at me the way you used to look when I was a kid and done something you thought was wrong.
We almost had a stampede today, Norm.
Almost?
You was riding front, man. You was the one to stop it.
I suppose you've never been on a horse that ran away with you.
You was always able to handle that Palomino before.
Why do you have to keep nagging? I'm no cattleman. I didn't want to come on this drive in the first place.
It's our herd.
It's your herd. It was up to me would have sold the ranch years ago.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe we ought to sell out. We'll talk about it when we get back home.
Hold up a minute. Thought it was my turn to look after the cattle tonight.
It's been a pretty hard day. You're probably tired. I'll wait till...
I'm no more tired than you are.
Okay, Norm.
I'll be over on that hill over yonder.
Well, you're not serious, right, about selling out, are you?
There's something in what Norm says. He's no cattleman.
Well, maybe not, but you are.
I can always get work somewhere. Carrie'd probably be happier in town anyway.
Carrie?
My wife.
Oh, well, I didn't know you were married, right?
Yep, last winter. She's staying with her folks in Bradley while we take the cattle north.
Is that so?
Carrie's a fine girl, Britt, younger than I am, about Norm's age. Young and pretty. You'll like her, everybody does. Yeah, even Norm. First time in our life him and me have ever agreed on anything or anybody.
Well,
she told me not to take him with us on this drive, said he'd never make it. I should have listened to her.
Now, he's pretty young, Rife. This is his first cattle drive. For all we know, his horse maybe did run away with him, you know.
Norm did the running, not his horse. He's no good, Britt. I guess it's my fault. I guess I brung him up wrong, but he's no good.
No, you're not his father. You're not to blame for how he turned out.
I'm the only father he ever had. Our old man died when Norm was just a baby, and Ma just lasted a couple of years after that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was 13, practically full-grown when she passed on, but Norm was only 4. She made me promise I'd look after him, see that he got his schooling and a chance to mount to something. Yeah. Fire's almost up.
Oh, here, I'll fix it.
I sent him to school, bought him books, but he wouldn't stick it out. It was too much like work. That's his real trouble, Britt. He's lazy, he's selfish. Expects everything to be handed to him all tied up in a fancy ribbon. Like this afternoon, he wasn't afraid of the cattle. He just couldn't be bothered stopping them. He didn't care that much.
Oh, maybe he's had it too easy, right? Maybe if the chips are down, he'd surprise you.
Maybe. Well, I'm not making the same mistake again. Not with my own kid.
With your own? What?
Yeah. Carrie's expected. He might be here by now, for all I know.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. I'll buy you a cigar and have...
Yeah, all right. Oh, well, that's fine. Well, I guess maybe it's time to turn in, I think.
I ain't very sleepy. I think I'll go up and... Well, see if Norm's all right. Oh, doggone it, Britt, he is my kid brother.
Sure, I know, right? Sure.
Good night.
Good night. I banked the fire for the night and spread out my bedroll. The moon came up, full moon, kind of a moon you ought to have after a rain. I stretched out flat. Wow. Except for a couple of rocks right in the small of my back. Well, I felt about as comfortable as a man has a right to feel.
Right?
No. It's me.
Oh. I thought you were looking after the herd.
Rife come nosing around. Guess he don't trust me. So if he wants to stay up all night, that's his business.
Sorry.
Yeah, we got nothing but heroes on this drive.
How do you figure that?
Well, you're the 6-shooter, ain't you? Supposed to be the fastest man with a gun west of Kansas City. East of there, too, from the way folks tell it.
No, you shouldn't believe everything you hear, Norm.
I don't. I don't believe you're any faster with a gun than the next man.
Probably not.
I don't believe you're any faster than me. See that white rock over there? Well?
You're good.
Go ahead. It's your turn.
Well, I'm afraid I'm sort of out of practice of shooting at rocks. I used to do it, but I haven't tried it recently.
What do you mean by that? I'm still a kid?
I didn't mean anything. You're a good shot. Now, good night.
Maybe you think it was an accident I hit it. I hit it. I can do it again. There. See that?
Good night.
Oh.
Ground was kind of damp and cold all night, but it didn't keep me from sleeping. And when I finally woke up, the sun was just starting to shove the sky away from over my head. A couple of seconds I couldn't quite decide whether to open my eyes or not, but the smell of coffee made me make up my mind. Oh! Morning.
Morning. Want some Java?
Ah, thanks. Where's Norm?
Taking a bath?
Taking a bath?
Yeah. Found a water hole the other side of the hill.
Oh.
He'll be back any minute. Trust Norm to keep himself duded up. Wouldn't surprise me if he showed up wearing a clean shirt.
Yeah. Well, you can't blame a fellow for... Yeah, what's this? Oh, that looks like a letter. Oh, here, it's yours.
Mine?
Well, it says Love, Carrie. Isn't that your wife's name? Carrie?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, here.
Read it to me, Britt.
What?
Out loud. Read me what it says.
Well, I'm not interested in somebody else's mail, Rife. I especially love letters.
Is that what it is?
Well, you ought to know. It's yours, isn't it?
No, Britt, it ain't. Carrie ain't never written me. She knows I can't read. It's Norm that had the schooling. Remember, Britt, I told you last night.
Yeah, I remember.
Read me what it says. Go on, Britt, read it.
We'll return to James Stewart as the 6-shooter in a moment. First, a word from Coleman, America's leader in modern automatic home heating equipment.
You'll be glad this winter you bought a Coleman heater this fall. Yes, as you sit back in your easy chair, snug and comfortable, you'll be glad you bought a Coleman heater. You'll enjoy floor-to-ceiling warmth in those rooms you could never heat before.
Get your Coleman oil or gas heater now during Coleman's big bonus sale. Here's what you get.
First bonus, a new low price.
Yes, now you can get a dependable Coleman automatic heater at a new low price.
Second bonus, a new low operating cost.
Coleman saves you up to 25% on heating bills because Coleman gives you maximum heat from your fuel.
Third bonus, a 32-piece set of Libby's Safe Edge glassware worth $14. It's free with your new Coleman heater.
Get 3 big bonuses. Get your Coleman oil or gas heater now during Coleman's big bonus sale. This sale is for a limited time only.
So see your Coleman dealer tomorrow. You'll find his name and address in your telephone directory.
Now, Act 2 of The 6-Shooter, starring James Stewart as Britt Ponsett.
The sun was warming the back of my neck as I stood there facing Rife, holding that piece of lavender paper in my hand. I looked down at the letter and then up at Rife again. He was just standing there, waiting, not moving. Not any part of him moving except the vein in his throat that jumped out a little throbs.
I'm waiting, Britt.
Now, it's not my letter, Rife, and I guess it isn't yours.
It concerns me, don't it? It's from Carrie. It's from my wife.
Well, that's between you and her.
I want to know what it says, what she's been writing to Norm about.
Go ahead, Britt. Read it to him. Oh, maybe you'd rather I told you what it says, right? It says, Carrie loves me. that she'll always love me, and it goes into detail.
You rotten little... Well, then we all right. You think that gun will stop me? I'll break your neck.
You're
with
walking
the
right into it, Rat. Now, put it away, Norm. You wanted a sample of my shooting last night. You put that gun away and you'll get it.
What am I supposed to do, take you both on?
This isn't my argument. It'll take 3 of us to get that herd to Abilene. I just want to be sure there'll be 3 of us to do it.
There ain't going to be 3, Britt. You've taken everything from me. All your life you've taken everything, but you're not taking Gary.
All right, that's enough, Rat. Come on now. I meant what I said about finishing that drive. 2 men may not make it, and I'm going to be sure I'm not going to lose that money you promised me. Now, come on. Now, straighten up here. What's the matter with you? You both able to ride now?
Yeah.
All right. I'm able. Norm, what about you?
Sure.
All right, now, come on. Let's get started. I dumped out the coffee and covered up the fire while Norm got the horses. We saddled up and got the herd underway. Norm moved out to the front, and I stayed in the middle. Rife brought up the rear. I figured it'd be just as well if I stayed between them. I looked back a couple of times, and whenever I did, I saw Rife staring at Norm, watching every move he made. But he didn't say a word. All day long, he didn't say a word. And then at supper time, Rife, he sat off one side, just pecking at his food. I noticed there's nothing wrong with Norm's appetite, though.
Any more beans?
Yeah, it looks like you finished them up, Norm.
Oh?
You're kind of hungry tonight, huh?
Why not? Just a kid still doing my growing. At least that's what some people think.
Uh-huh. Well, as long as you're so full of energy, maybe you wouldn't mind looking after the cattle, huh?
Huh?
Well, you missed your turn last night, didn't you?
Say, you taking over this outfit, Ponce?
No. Just a suggestion.
I guess somebody's got to run things. Don't look like my brother's holding a very tight rein. See you in the morning.
Yeah. Come on, Rife. How about some shut-eye?
Okay.
Good night.
Night.
I waited till Rife dropped off, and I closed my eyes. I didn't sleep very long, though. About an hour later, something woke me up. At first, I thought it was a coyote. And then I saw Rife edging off through the brush. You going somewhere, Rife?
Huh?
Coyote woke you up, too, huh?
Yeah.
That gun ain't gonna do much good if you're figuring on killing it, Rife.
What do you mean?
It's empty, Rife.
You ain't got no right to interfere.
Oh? I was just thinking about that 10% of the herd.
I'm gonna kill him, Britt. You can't stop me. Nobody can.
He's your brother.
No, he ain't. Not anymore. Would a brother do what he did to me? I ain't never had anything I could really call my own. If he wanted something, he took it. I never stopped him. But Carrie is my wife. She belongs to me, and this time I'm going to stop him.
Hadn't you better wait and talk it over with her?
I waited too long already. Why do you think she didn't want Norm to go with us on this drive? It wasn't because she was afraid he'd never make it. She wanted him there, with her. And at a time like this, she's...
Easy now, Rife.
Probably want to take over the baby, too, when that comes along.
No, come on now. You've got to get some sleep now. You'll feel better in the morning. Come on now.
No, I won't feel better in the morning, Britt. I won't feel no better until I'm even with him.
I guess none of the 3 of us got much sleep that night, and by noontime the next day, that saddle of mine was a little harder than usual. I'd been sort of keeping my eye on Rife. He was still riding behind me. But the sun was getting hot, and I was kind of drowsy, so I just sort of jogged along for the next few miles, not paying much attention to anything or anybody. If Scar hadn't given me a jolt, easy, boy, easy now. I wouldn't have looked around, and I wouldn't have seen that we were coming into a gorge. It was very narrow, barely wide enough for the herd, and the rock walls jutted up at a sharp angle, too steep for a horse to climb. By the time I got my bearings, it was too late. This was just the kind of a place Wright was looking for. I couldn't see him now, but I knew he was doing the firing, and I knew why. He was trying to stampede the cattle. And there in the gorge, Norm wouldn't be able to get out of the way. There was no chance of getting back to stop Wright. All I could do was just jam right into the middle of the herd. Come on, boy. Now, come on. Come on. Come on. Smart his way past a couple of steers. I tried to keep them under control, but the ones from the rear started pressing forward in earnest, and there just wasn't no holding the rest of them. And we was right in it now, a real stampede. This was Wright's way of killing his brother, and I wasn't so sure I was going to fare any better than Norm. A couple of the cows shoved against us, almost toppled us over. Scar was pretty certain to lose his footing before we could get much further, and I jerked out my gun. I cleared us a little path, but the cattle plugged up before we get through. All of my shooting was just making things worse. There was nothing to do now but just give Scar's head, let him run with it. I hadn't had time to worry about Norm. I didn't know what had happened to him. I didn't even think about him until it... Hey, that wasn't Wright firing. That wasn't Wright firing. That was from up ahead. Well, the herd was half crazy now. They'd been shot at from all directions. They didn't know where to turn now. I rose up in my stirrups and looked forward. Norm was holding his ground at the mouth of the gorge. He could have gotten away, all right, but he was holding his ground. I hadn't lifted myself up. Maybe I'd have been able to hang on when the cattle twisted around and started changing direction. As it was, Scar held his ground, flattened out behind a rock. That was the only thing to save my neck. I rolled under him. The cattle just swung around and started heading back to the water. In a couple of minutes, I was in the clear. The cattle passed me by. I pulled myself up to my feet, and I looked around. The herd was still out of control. They're charging out the other end of the gorge, and then I got a flash of Wright. Norm must have heard it too.
Right! Right!
Norm came pounding past me, firing at all the way like a crazy man, trying to get through to his brother.
Right!
The herd had moved on almost out of sight now before I saw Wright again. He was lying on the ground in a smear of sticky red dust, and Norm was there bending over him when I got up to him.
You all right, Wright?
I started him, Norm. I figured you'd try to get out of the way, but you didn't run. You stopped him. He stopped him, didn't he, Britt?
Yeah.
I didn't mean for him to turn on you, Wright. I swear I didn't.
I know that. I saw you trying to get through to me. Why did you want to help me, Norm? I started them so they'd kill you. Why did you want to help me?
You're my brother. You're all I've got, all I've ever had.
You hear that, Britt? You don't hate me?
Right. Listen, about Carrie. About that letter.
It's all right, Norm. I don't blame you. I don't blame Carrie.
But she loves you, Wright. That letter was written a long time ago, before you and her were married, before she even knew you.
A long time ago?
Yeah, I've carried with me ever since. I was in love with her, but she wasn't in love with me, not ever. And when you come along, she realized that she's never had anything to do with me since. I only kept the letter so I could show it to you when you got to riding me the way you did yesterday.
You're telling the truth.
You know I am, don't you?
Yeah, I guess I do. Sure. I guess I've known it all along. When Carrie told me about us having a baby, I was so happy and proud it almost spilled over. I guess a man couldn't feel that way if he wasn't sure of his wife.
Take it easy, Wright. Now, don't try talking too much.
What's the matter with you, Britt? You think them cattle finished me?
No, of course not.
You said it would take all three of us to get to Abilene. That's the way it's going to be. All three of us.
Sure.
You and Norm and me. It'll be a while before I can get on my legs, but you just give me a couple of hours rest while you're rounding up the herd. A couple of hours and I'll be around to...
Life. He's dead, Norm.
But he can't be. He was feeling better. You heard him.
Well, a man don't always know when he's dying, Norm. Sometimes a man's lucky.
Britt,
Yeah.
It's only kids that cry, ain't it? I guess this makes me a kid.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, Norm. I'd say you've done a lot of growing up today. We buried Rice there at the mouth of the gorge and went off to round up the cattle again. We managed to find most of them, and about a week later we hit Abilene. All during that week I kept wanting to ask Norm about that letter from Carrie, if it was true what he told Rice, if it really had been written a couple of years ago. But somehow, I don't know, the subject never came up. Leastwise, I never found a good time for bringing it up. Besides, it really wasn't any of my business.
Beginning tomorrow night, Fibber McGee and Molly return to the air in a new series of programs. Yes, beginning tomorrow night, you'll hear those wonderful folks from 79 Wistful Vista, Fibber McGee and Molly, every night, Monday through Friday on NBC. As a matter of fact, this is the week that will see 28 new programs beginning on the NBC radio network. And you'll find that an evening with NBC radio is an evening sure to entertain. So make a date to keep your dial set where you hear the familiar NBC chimes. Your invitation to the best in radio programming. Coleman, America's leader in modern automatic home heating equipment, and the National Broadcasting Company have presented James Stewart as the six-shooter. Mr. Stewart may currently be seen in the Universal International picture Thunder Bay. Others in the cast were Lou Merrill and James McCallion. The Six-Shooter is an NBC Radio Network production in association with Review Productions and is based on a character created by Frank Burt, and today's transcribed story was written by him. Special music was by Basil Adlam, and the entire production is under the direction of Jack Johnstone. All characters and incidents were fictitious, and any resemblance to actual characters or incidents is purely coincidental. This is Hal Gibney speaking. Listen to Last Man Out, one of the Magic 28, next on the NBC Radio Network.
By the mid-1950s, when our next program began, most of the actors on the West Coast were doing some sort of television or movie work, so the program was rehearsed and taped for transcription during the evening. Once a week, the cast and crew got together at CBS Studio One in Hollywood to tape the show. In 1956, this was the last radio production studio in use in California. Our series aired 41 episodes from January 22, 1956 to October 28, 1956. We present to you Fort Laramie, next on HOJO Radio.
At the gallop! Oh!
Fort Laramie. Fort Laramie, starring Raymond Burr as Captain Lee Quince. Specially transcribed tales of the dark and tragic ground of the wild frontier. The saga of fighting men who rode the rim of empire. And the dramatic story of Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry.
Looks like the freight's at the far end of the train, Gorse.
I expect it is, Captain, because I took care to see the wagons was up front here to make the loading easier.
Well, see they're moved to the back.
Yes, sir. You got the list, Captain?
Yeah. 2 men unloading ought to be enough. Nothing real heavy. Here you are.
Rifles, carbines, revolvers, sabers. Well, it says infantry equipment's here.
Well?
You don't suppose they tucked in a few howitzers? We only brought the 2 wagons.
Anything we can't haul back, we'll leave. Let ordnance do it.
Come into my office and get this business cleared up.
Well, the sergeant's got the billing on the Army equipment we're unloading.
Now, that's not what I'm talking about. Now you're here, I just want you to get them out of my station. I'm running a guardhouse, you know.
I'd give a little to know what you are talking about, mister.
Them 2 soldiers chained together in there, and a guard with them. They say they're bound for Fort Laramie.
Private Medford and Private Stringer, that right?
That's right, sir. The little one's Stringer. He doesn't say much. Tall, blonde one, he's Medford.
And you're Corporal Benjamin?
Yes, sir.
Well, their orders say Fort Laramie clear enough. You got orders, Corporal?
Yes, sir. Fort Bridger, sir, from Fort Leavenworth. A transfer, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I was to escort Medford and Stringer this far, sir, and contact Fort Laramie to secure them from here.
Well, you made contact, Corporal. We'll take over.
I don't understand, sir. Fort Laramie's 40 miles from here. I only telegraphed 10 minutes ago, sir.
We had a good wind behind us on the way down.
Beg your pardon, sir?
We came to pick up a consignment of equipment. Left Fort Laramie yesterday.
Oh, well, then, what you said about the wind behind you...
was a bald-faced lie, Corporal.
Yes, sir. The captain displays a fine touch of humor.
You mustn't encourage me, Corporal. Now, you better arrange for your transportation to Fort Bridger. Good luck.
Thank you, sir. Good luck to you, sir.
All right, on your feet. Private Stringer?
Yeah?
How's that?
That's me, Stringer.
You stationed at Fort Leavenworth?
I was took there. They give me this uniform, this tall one next to me, a length of chain, then they put me on the railroad.
You're a recruit, then?
If that means that I join up of my own free will, no.
You been in the Army before?
Mostly I've been in jail. Don't it say on them papers about me?
If it did, I wouldn't be asking.
I've been in the Army 6 days. I heard talk you could make the arrangement on account of enlistments being slow. I could get out of jail if I signed I'd join the Army.
Stand up straight. Now, you get this, Stringer. There's not the time to tell you how much learning you got ahead of you. But you learn, starting now, understand?
Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. I guess we can take those chains off now.
Is there any reason you ain't asking questions of me, sir?
I don't have to, Medford. It says about you in your papers.
Well, maybe it don't say it all in them papers, Captain.
Says enough. There. You ride back to Fort Laramie in the wagons with the equipment. We don't have horses for you.
We ride free of these chains, Captain?
Free of the chains.
Man alone might jump off of one of them wagons.
Might.
But that ain't your worry, sir?
That's your worry, Medford. Jumping the wagon is desertion. If you walk away, you'll be caught. If you run, you'll be shot. Sergeant, dismiss him.
Yes, sir.
Platoon! Yes, miss.
Captain?
Yes, Sergeant?
I'll see the wagons is unloaded.
Pick what men you need, then take the wagons to the wheelwright. Tell him if he can't fix them proper to burn them.
Right, Captain. About the new men.
What about them?
Are they assigned to B Company, sir?
They're not assigned anywhere yet, Gorse.
We could sure use them, Captain, starting right now with the unloading of the equipment.
They'll have to be assigned first.
Well, that'll take most of the rest of the day, Captain. There ain't more than an hour's work.
Get someone else to do it, Gorse.
Yes, sir. There's a reason, Captain, you don't want Stringer and Medford to help?
Yeah? Reasons like you'll be unloading rifles and carbines and 50,000 rounds of ammunition.
I guess when you want to tell me the rest of that story, you will.
And there'll be a right time, Gorse.
Yes, sir.
All right, you two. Fall in behind me. You'll report to headquarters company for assignment.
All right if I ask a question, mister? Captain?
What is it?
Well, now, I'm brand new to this life. I told you that. I don't even know where this headquarters company's at and all like that.
I'll see you get there, Stringer. Any more questions?
I got one, sir.
Well, Medford?
When do they outfit us proper?
Proper, Medford?
I mean, I got this brand new blue uniform. When they gonna give me my rifle and sidearms?
When you're assigned?
They mean I should have them firearms in. Just like anyone else.
Just like anyone else, Medford.
Captain Quince.
Yes, Lieutenant?
Are these the transfers, sir?
Private Stringer and Medford.
The Major sent me to see they're assigned and quartered. He's anxious to see you, Captain.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Syberts.
Corporal Benjamin's telegram wasn't quite clear, Captain. Something about respectfully urging that we pick up 2 prisoners from Fort Leavenworth.
You get my telegram all right?
Yeah, saying you were bringing 2 transfers from Fort Leavenworth. Now, which are they, prisoners or transfers?
A little of both, I guess.
If Fort Laramie's to become a military prison, I'd like to hear it from someone other than a corporal.
Now, these men aren't prisoners anymore, Major. For some reason, they sent them as far as Cheyenne under Corporal Benjamin's guard.
You got their papers?
They're at headquarters company, but I read them. Stringer, they let him out of a civilian jail if he'd promised he'd join the Army.
Oh, under that plan to make up for slow enlistments. I read about it when the order came through a couple of months ago. We decided to face that problem when it came up.
It's come up, Major.
Any idea what he was serving time for?
Oh, he gave me the idea. He's made a career for himself being in prison. I didn't ask about specific crimes. I know this. He's never been in the Army.
We can fix that part. The other one, he from prison, too?
Yeah. Camp Butler first, then Camp Douglas.
You're talking about military prisons, Captain?
Union Army prisons for Confederate captives. Private Lacey Medford. He's our first galvanized Yankee, Major.
Galvanized Yankee? Never heard that term.
Well, it has something to do with iron. When it's galvanized, it turns color. Men like Medford, they were captured in gray, sent west in blue.
Well, like you say, Lee, this is a new problem for us.
Well, might not be a problem.
Oh, but it seems likely enough. Most of your men fought in the Union Army.
That war's long over.
Not in men's minds, Lee. For some men on both sides, it'll never be over.
Major, in B Company alone, we got Irish and English bunking side by side. Same with Germans and French. If we can't put a Yankee and a rebel side by side, we got more trouble than just Indians.
I'm glad you don't consider it a problem.
I said it might not be one. When it is, if it is, I'll treat it as a problem. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
The way you're talking, you've made up your mind to give me Stringer and Medford, huh?
B Company's got fewer men than the rest. Any objections?
No, not from me.
You like challenges, don't you, Lee?
You keep telling me I do.
Well, I hope Medford won't be a problem. But if he is, I'll feel better knowing he's your problem.
Thanks.
What's your impression of him, right off?
Right off, I'd say he's awful anxious to get his own rifle and sidearms. Till I know better, I'm going to figure he's itching to get himself an Indian.
I tell you, Stringer, these private riding lessons ain't going on forever.
Well, I got an idea I could ride just fine if I ever once got on the horse.
Well, you're no young'un. How you been getting around without learning the first thing about mounting?
I ain't been getting around, Sergeant. There's been no call for it.
Will you just sit where you come from?
Sit? Or laid down? You don't know nothing about me? I mean, before?
I don't know and don't care. But you're sure looking more like infantry to me every minute.
You mean that Captain ain't told you about me?
Captain Quint's got important things to think about.
Yeah, he sure has. That Medford. I was captain, I'd think about him a lot.
Never mind about Medford. He can mount and ride and dismount with the best of them.
He oughta. He was in the dirty yellow rebel cavalry.
Stand a horse.
You don't care about that? You want a stinking rebel in your army?
Now, you listen good to me, Stringer. I got a guardhouse with a fine view of the Laramie River down there. Any more talk out of you will send you right there.
Well, I feel a sight safer in the guardhouse. I ain't been a month out of jail since I was 10.
Well, you just talked yourself right back in again, Stringer.
All right. Fine. Can I talk free about Medford now?
You got anything to say, you say it to me and nobody else, you understand?
Well, you ain't thinking this is no secret. About him being a lousy rebel. Why, he tells everybody in earshot. You know, he's proud of it, right proud.
That's his business.
You fought in that war, Sergeant. How can you stand the thought of him being one of you now?
Maybe because I fought in that war, Stringer. What jail was you sitting it out in then?
You think more of him than me?
You're in for a lot of things you won't understand, Stringer. You can think 'em over in the guardhouse.
I ain't gonna think nothing over. But here's something you can think over, Sergeant. That yellow rebel's got himself a lot of guns, all kinds, rifles to pistols and back again. Think it over. See if you rest easy on it.
Medford's outside, Captain. You want I should send him in now?
In a minute, Gorse. How far has all this gone? Can you tell?
It's all over. About him being in the Confederate cavalry, about how he was took prisoner, sent out here now. This thing about the guns, I hear that all through the quarters, too.
You seen the guns?
No, sir.
I checked ordnance in stores. Everything's accounted for. Ammunition, rifles, carbines, revolvers.
Well, he claims he brought them all in with him. The men say that.
In a haversack and saddlebag?
I'm just telling you what the men say, Captain. You said we was going out in a few days. You figuring to take him along?
That'll be up to him, Gorse.
Yes, sir.
You can send him in now.
Right, Captain. Medford, Captain Quince will see you now.
Sit down, Medford.
I prefer to stand, sir.
Sit down. You got any complaints on your treatment here? I want to hear about them now.
I got a complaint. I'm here.
But I can't do much about that, Medford.
Neither can I. I want free to choose.
If you were free, what would you do? Go back home?
There ain't no home. There ain't nobody. Men like you saw to that.
Suppose you could get out, maybe stake a claim, maybe get a little farm,
No,
store.
It's all took out of me. I don't want none of that. I don't want anything save to be let be.
Oh, it's not all out of you. The hate's still there.
You bet it is. I get all the strength I got from hating.
Sure, you're feeding it all the time.
Well, there's a lot to hate. This here blue uniform, you can start there. That Spencer rifle you issued me. You gonna let me talk free?
You're talking right free. Go ahead.
Well, that Spencer, I never seen one. I just heard a man about him. We used to figure you Yankees spent one day a week just loading them and the rest of the week firing them at us. We didn't have their like.
No, you didn't. So now you got one. It'll fire 8 shots. Only there aren't any Yankees left to kill.
There ain't nothing but Yankees.
You better get over that feeling, Medford.
I'm gonna die with it.
You don't want to die.
You know that, do you?
You had a lot of chances to die. You could have died in prison if you'd made up your mind to it. You could have died any day out here, starting from the first day you rode in on the wagon.
How you figure that?
You could have jumped the wagon. I'd have killed you. I told you that. And since you're here, you're on the rifle range real regular. The way you've been talking, you could goad a man into killing you.
The men, they've been reporting to you right along?
You've been talking your hate right free.
They tell you about my guns, did they?
Got a lot of guns, have you, Medford?
Well, you ain't searched real good, Captain.
I haven't searched at all. I'm not going to.
If I got guns, you'd have cause to be fearful.
Maybe. Got any more complaints?
What kind of a man are you? I told you I hate your uniform, everything about you, what you stand for.
I'm this kind of man, Medford. I got a cavalry company that's short of men. We're moving out in a couple of days. Now, maybe we don't like the same things, or hate the same things. But we're stuck with each other, Medford.
You taking me on an engagement? Taking me to fight Indians under your flag?
You scared of Indians, Medford?
It's not that.
I'm taking you. You got something you're living for. I want to find out what it is.
We're strung out about as thin as we can be, Captain.
You know, the longer they think we can hold them down there, the better. I don't think we'll be able to fool them long.
Got us outnumbered. 2-1, anyway.
Sure have, Mr. Syberts. Our horses still secure?
Behind the top of the rise, yes, sir.
If those Indians are smart, they'll circle us. There's enough of them to do it.
Have you thought about retreat, Captain?
I've thought of nothing else since we got boxed in. We'll retreat when we can, Mr. Syberts. If we can.
Captain, sir.
Medford?
Captain, can you see their horses from here? There must be a couple hundred of them.
The ones they stole, caught in the ravine down there?
Yes, sir.
What about them?
We stampeded those horses. Them engines would clear out of here in no time.
We'd have to ride a charge down there to stampede them. That's suicide, Medford. They'd pick us off one by one as we rode
Well,
down.
ain't that our only chance, Captain?
Getting killed's not the chance we're looking for.
Yeah, but, Captain, it's noise,
Get back
sir.
to your position, Medford. Now.
Yes, sir.
Hold your fire, men. Hold your fire.
I brought your mount, Captain. You saw what he did.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going down there, Mr. Syberts. He might still be alive. That was a fool thing you did, Medford.
I told you, stampede run them off.
I told you it was suicide.
We was both right, Captain. You gonna court-martial me?
For breaking orders? Or saving our lives?
My rifle. Is it close by?
You want to use it, Medford?
Just you look at it, Captain.
Brass mountings? Your old Enfield, huh?
I carried that at Brandy Station, along with an old flintlock and a German musket.
Good rifle, Enfield. I got shot with one at Bull Run.
I had to kill something with it, Captain. You said I had something I was living for. You remember?
I remember.
One decent thing. I was captured after Brandy Station, Captain. They caught me running away. Deserted. I had to do one decent thing.
Yeah. Well, you're dying decent, Medford. That's something.
Fort Laramie is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald and stars Raymond Burr as Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry, with Vic Perrin as Sergeant Gorse. The script was specially written for Fort Laramie by Kathleen Height, with sound patterns by Bill James and Tom Henley. Musical supervision by Amerigo Marino. Featured in the cast were Lawrence Dobkin, Parley Bear, Frank Cady, and Paul Dubov. Jack Moyles is Major Daggett, and Harry Bartell is Lieutenant Seiberts.
Company, tension! Dismiss.
Next week, another transcribed story of the Northwest frontier and the troopers who fought under Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry. The thud of approaching footsteps in the darkened room, the high-pitched creak of a door being opened stealthily, the tick of a clock that marks time running out for a doomed man. These are sounds that keep you in suspense. Connoisseurs of crime stories listen to Suspense Tuesday nights on CBS Radio because Suspense specializes in offbeat drama that makes the hair rise and the heart beat faster. Listen Tuesday night on most of these same stations for another taut, spine-tingling story of suspense.
HOJO Radio, where the classics come alive.
At the gallop! Oh!
Fort Laramie. Fort Laramie, starring Raymond Burr as Captain Lee Quince. Specially transcribed tales of the dark and tragic ground of the wild frontier. The saga of fighting men who rode the rim of empire. And the dramatic story of Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry.
Captain?
Oh, Mr. Seiberts. The men looked fine, I thought.
Well, yes, sir. They looked all right.
Good drill. Good parade.
Yes, sir, but actually I was more concerned with... Well, weren't you listening, sir?
I was watching, Lieutenant. I almost never listen to a dress parade.
I mean the band.
The band seemed to march real good.
Captain, the music. Frankly, I thought it was terrible.
Oh?
Usually it just sounds bad. But today it was awful. What, didn't it sound strange to you? Tinny, off-key?
I was watching B Company, Mr. Seiberts. Marched just fine.
I don't know. Maybe it's my ears.
More likely my ears. I don't pay much mind to the music. When I was a boy, my mother thought I had a promising voice. So I'd sing for her. And the hogs had come running.
Then the neighbors got so they'd come running too. I got a lot of encouragement to quit singing.
But just because you couldn't sing well, Captain, doesn't mean you don't have an appreciation for music.
Oh, I think it does, Mr. Seibert. You see, I wasn't just obliging my mother. I thought I sounded fine, too.
Well, you were considerably younger, sir. I'm sure you've outgrown all that by now. After all, with your mother to encourage you couldn't be blamed for thinking that you
Around her neck she wore a yellow ribbon.
Captain.
She wore it in the winter and the merry month of May. And when they asked her why
Really, Captain, it was more about the regimental band than anything else. And if you didn't notice the band...
Far away, far away. She wore it for her lover who was far, far away.
Yes, well, I'm beginning to think I was very mistaken, if you'll excuse me,
Far
Captain.
away, far...
Captain Quince?
Major Daggett?
What are you doing?
I was singing, sir.
You call that singing?
Yes, I do. But I suppose it's a minority opinion.
Are you drunk, Captain?
No, sir. I can account for the singing if you're interested, Major.
I'm only interested in stopping it. We've had enough bad music around here for one day.
I thought Dress Parade came off fine, sir. I was very proud of B Company.
Captain, I don't want to hear another reference to Dress Parade today.
Yes, sir.
It's over. That's the only good thing about it. It's over. I don't want to discuss it. I don't want to hear it discussed. That's an order, Captain.
Yes, sir.
I won't even ask if you heard the band. Did you hear the band?
Must have. I saw it. Seemed to me they marched real good.
No matter if you heard it or not. If that bellowing you call singing's a sample of your ear for music... Marched real good?
I thought so, sir.
If I want marching, I'll get a company of infantry. From a band, Captain, I expect just one thing, music. You think I'm being unreasonable?
Kind of hard to get music out of busted instruments, I imagine.
I realize some of the pieces are quite old. Schultz tells me in the field they have problems with rust, sand fouling the cornet pistons, but busted instruments?
The report said the band was brawling over something Saturday night. Someone put his foot through a field drum. Some of the blowhorns got smashed.
You read a report on a band brawl?
Mm-hmm. On your desk, Sunday morning, Major.
Oh. Well, I want to talk to the bandmaster, and if you'll stop delaying me, I will.
Sorry to hold you up, Major.
Lee. I'm sorry.
For what?
Well, I'm mad as the devil. I didn't mean to take it out on you.
I was handy.
And you were singing, don't forget. Kind of set me off.
Set Mr. Seibert's off, too.
Fact of the matter is, we have guests on the post. I wanted to be especially proud of our band. Oh, and what they did to Boots and Saddles, I think it was Boots and Saddles. I gotta see Schultz.
Tell him I thought the band marched real good.
You ailing, Harrison?
Not me, Sergeant.
Well, we'd like to get that lumber loaded so you could run the wagon up to old Bedlam, unload it, and come back here and start all over.
No, I'm doing what I can. I swear I am.
You ain't ailing, you shake a leg.
Both of them shaking now, Sergeant.
All right, Harrison, come out with it. I got about half a minute's patience left.
You know I'm a reasonable man. You know that right off. Well, if I'm not reasonable, maybe there's a cause.
I ain't got long to wait.
Like this contrary weather. It ought to be cooling off. Give a man a feel for hard work. It's got no right to be blazing hot this time of year.
You're asking for a change of weather?
I'd be obliged if you could arrange it, Sergeant. Anything, just any small thing would be an improvement.
Well, now, you just come to the right man, Harrison. Just for you, I'm going to change the weather. You mind now you asked me to do it?
Oh, I ask. I sure ask, all right.
Trooper Harrison?
Yes, Sergeant.
Report to the guardhouse.
Guardhouse? On what charge?
On the charge that you asked for. It takes you right out of the blazing sun. Of course, how you're going to get a breath of air is something else again. But seeing any small change would be an improvement.
Sergeant, I'll be getting back to my loading now.
I thought you wanted to change the weather.
One day I'm gonna learn to keep my mouth shut around here.
That day comes, you write me a letter so I'll know.
You know I can't write.
I tell you one good thing, Harrison.
I just ain't rising to any more bait, Sergeant.
Fatigue's over in half an hour, and after supper...
There's a band concert, I know. Well, it ain't gonna cool me off none. Not a cent's worth.
Only there ain't gonna be no band concert. In fact, if Bandmaster Schultz can't explain himself any better to Major Daggett than he has so far...
Oh, my foot!
Maybe we heard the last toot ever from our regimental band.
Pliny? You around, Pliny?
No.
What are you doing behind the pickle barrel? You drop a penny?
Are you alone, Captain?
Sure.
I'm not exactly open. It's almost 4:30.
You'd open at midnight to sell a 2-penny cigar. Now come on out from behind that barrel.
Well, oh my, it's unnerving. That's what it is. What did you want, Captain?
What are you whispering about?
Well, you never know who's listening these days.
I'm listening. I'm hard put to hear you. Are you going to sell me a glass of beer, or do I have to draw it myself?
Ha-ha.
Aha.
Who sent you?
Pliny, it's a hot day.
Oh, no, you don't, sir. I know an investigation when I see one. Well, you may tell that committee and Major Daggett and all the powers that be that I am living up to the letter of my agreement with the United States Army.
Maybe you ought to have a glass of beer, too.
It's not my concern if the regimental band can't play without instruments.
What about the band?
No beer, no band. Oh, I'll miss the drums. Won't you?
Pliny, what time of day do you start making sense?
Why, Captain, I believe you don't know. You came here in innocence. But these are dark days, and the seeds of distrust are on the wind.
This time I'm going into the canteen and get that beer.
There is no beer. There will be no beer. Beer is a closed issue. Poor Schultz. Poor Schultz.
You keep going from beer to band.
From no beer to no band. And you can thank Mrs. Feemster and her committee for that.
Mrs. Feemster's not doing anything. She's just visiting Fort Laramie.
Her visit was ill-timed. Just when Schultz needed new instruments the worst way. But alas, 5% of nothing will not buy French horns and trumpets. And, oh my, I will miss the drums. I'm still not reaching you, am I, Captain?
I know. No, you're not.
Then let me put it simply. A, B, C. A is for the agreement. Now then, 5% of all proceeds from the sale of beer I give to B, which is the band. From these monies, Schultz buys new instruments. That is, he did until... Oh, yes, until C. C is for committee, headed by Mrs. Feemster. The committee for moral improvement, if you will. And that means no beer. It follows, then, no beer, no proceeds, no band. Oh, my. I put that well, didn't I?
If you did, you better climb in that pickle barrel, Pliny. A sutler that doesn't sell beer needs a real hiding place.
But the brine...
Salty.
Oh, Captain, I was just about to send for you.
Just came from the settlers, Major. You got any idea what's going on around here?
Hold your voice down. Come here.
Pliny was whispering, too, for a while.
Now, listen to me, Lee. I get a better idea than anyone what's going on around here. Mrs. Feemster's in my office now. Let's go in here.
The army run by a woman now, Major?
That's not funny, Lee.
I don't mean it funny. I can't get a glass of beer. Pliny says that woman's why.
I've just learned from Washington that there's several thousand Mrs. Feemsters, Captain, and their ranks seem to be growing daily. Not only that, but there are also Mr. Feemsters, and their voices are getting louder every day.
Mrs. Feemster doesn't like beer?
On moral grounds.
She like whiskey better?
Whiskey isn't the issue. Beer, light wines, such as are sold at the sutler's canteen.
Then she likes whiskey better.
She wouldn't see it that way. Besides, it isn't just the beer. That's just part of their plan for moral improvement. They want to see that all posts have libraries, more recreational facilities, concerts.
From the regimental band, playing on no instruments?
Well, Mrs. Feemster realizes the problem there.
I got nothing against libraries, recreation. We need 'em. But do you think we got any kind of a drinking problem at Fort Laramie?
I've never been aware of one.
If we had one, you'd be aware of it. We all would. And if we had one, it wouldn't be on account of beer served to the settlers.
I know that, Lee. You act like this was up to me. Well, let me assure you, it isn't.
Ms. Feemster, post commander?
I'm still in command here, and that means I still follow orders from Washington. That's where the real pressure's coming from. They've banned the sale of beer at Fort Sully, Fort McPherson, and Fort Totten, and I can't keep them from banning it here.
That brings us back to whiskey again. If a man can't get a glass of beer on the post, he'll go off the post. You think Mrs. Feemster knows what a hog ranch is?
A whiskey ranch? I doubt it.
Well, they got 'em now, all around Fort Sully and Fort Totten. And men that used to drink beer at those posts are stealing off and rotting their insides on hog ranch whiskey.
You seem pretty sure of your facts, Lee.
Ask Major Trucks. He got the information at the post surgeons' meeting last month at Fort Randall. The post surgeons are recommending that they reopen the canteens.
I wonder. Just wonder. No, it'd never work.
No, what wouldn't work?
I don't think even Major Trucks could convince Mrs. Feemster she was short-sighted.
I was thinking more of letting Mrs. Feemster make her own decision about being short-sighted.
You haven't met her, have you?
No, I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Now, Lee.
I'd like to volunteer to show Mrs. Feemster around the post tomorrow, Major.
Volunteer?
You might just tell her I'll call for her tomorrow, right after guard mount. Afternoon to you, Major. Of course, in time, we'd want to build a library building separate, but that takes time. Right now, there's only one building not being put to use.
Well, I'm sure I don't know where that is, Captain. Goodness knows we've covered most of the post.
Except the sutler's, ma'am. It's just ahead.
But surely the sutler's store isn't vacant.
Not the store, just the canteen. It's part of the same building.
Is that where they keep beer?
When they had it, ma'am.
My dear young man, I have never set foot in a saloon, and I don't intend to go now.
The saloon's where they sell liquor, ma'am. This canteen's an empty room and a counter. But if you don't want to look at it,
You're
why...
certain there's nothing in the nature of spirits in there?
I give you my word, Mrs. Feemster. There isn't a sign of spirit in there now.
Very well, then. I suppose I should take the long view. After all, the library is the important thing. But in a saloon...
No, canteen.
I'll take your word there's a difference, Captain.
After you, ma'am.
Thank you, Captain.
Canteen straight ahead, Mrs. Feemster.
Now then, Pliny, I got a long order here. Best you write it down.
Just a moment, Sergeant. Just a moment. Captain?
Yes, Pliny? Oh, have you met Mrs. Feemster? This is Pliny Burgess, the sutler.
Mr. Burgess?
Madam? Now, Captain, you know very well the canteen is... well, it's...
Yeah, we know, Pliny. We come to see how the room would do for a library.
A library? You mean books, And books in there?
We'll just look it over. You mind your customer over there.
Oh. Well, I don't know
I
about...
got cash money, Pliny.
Coming. Yes, indeed. In fact, I'm here.
Well, Mrs. Feemster?
Well, yes, I think perhaps you may be right, Captain.
Lemon extract.
This room would make...
I want all the lemon extract you got. All the vanilla, peppermint, ginger.
All?
Every drop. Then I want everything in stock in the way of cinnamon, red pepper sauces, bay rum. You got any smelly water, Pliny?
Smelly? Oh, no, I don't believe I have any smelly. Oh, no.
You're not paying much mind to the room, ma'am.
Hey? Oh, why... Oh, yes, it's first rate. Splendid.
O.D. something, Pliny.
O.D.? Smelly.
Excuse me, ma'am. You know what I'm trying to say.
I?
You know, you women folks uses it sometimes. Smells right nice. O.D.
O.D. Cologne.
Oh, that's it, ma'am. Thank you kindly. I'll take all you got, Pliny.
All, I've got.
Seems to me we could get several hundred books in here, Miss Feemster. Now, along that wall there,
Just a minute, Captain. Young man.
You talking to me, ma'am?
I am indeed. Your order to Mr. Burgess, all the lemon extract, all the cologne.
Yes, ma'am.
May I ask what you're planning to do with it?
Why, drink it, ma'am.
Drink it?
Well, maybe not all of it. I'll sell some, chances are. Maybe give some now and again to my friends. But...
Drink it?
Why, ma'am, you strain extract or that OD stuff through some coarse bread, you got a fine batch of alcohol.
Oh, my.
Now, myself, I'd rather have a glass of beer, but we can't get that no more here, so, well, man's left to his own devices, you might say.
Thank you, Gorse.
I just hope it did the trick, Captain.
Right now, we almost have this added up, so let me see what that comes to $57.43, Sergeant.
Pliny, I've been thinking this over.
Huh? Oh. Well, now, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Now, since you're such a good customer, I'm going to let you have the whole thing for $57.33.
You drink it, Pliny. I'm going to Laramie Village for a beer.
Why, Captain, you've come to say goodbye.
No, I wasn't sure I'd be welcome, Mrs. Feemster. Major tells me you were a while settling down.
I very nearly fainted. You may as well know that.
Well, if it'd make you feel any better, it was all made up for your benefit, ma'am.
So Major Daggett assured me. Oh, my, Captain. I'm going back to Washington with a brand new outlook. I think our Committee on Moral Improvement may just revise its thinking a bit.
You talked to the post surgeon?
Indeed, I did. I'm taking the entire matter up with all of official Washington.
Yes, ma'am.
And I want to thank you for opening my eyes, Captain. And that nice orderly of yours.
Harrison?
Yes, Trooper Harrison. He's the one who makes those nice outdoor stoves.
He is?
He was cooking last evening down by the Laramie River. I was out for my evening constitutional, and he explained it all to me about his stove. A retort, a condenser, and a receiver.
Harrison? He called it a stove?
Oh, he had some other name for it. A foolish name, too.
A foolish name like a still?
Yes, but I could see it was a stove. He's promised to send me the plans, show me just how to make it.
Mrs. Feemster, that stove, now it's just...
Oh, my goodness, the stage is ready. Goodbye, Captain.
Goodbye, Mrs. Feemster.
Fort Laramie is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald and stars Raymond Burr as Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry, with Vic Perrin as Sergeant Gorse. The script was specially written for Fort Laramie by Kathleen Height, with sound patterns by Bill James and Ray Kemper. Musical supervision by Amerigo Marino. Featured in the cast were Howard McNear, Jeanette Nolan, and Sam Edwards. Jack Moyles is Major Daggett, and Harry Bartell is Lieutenant Seibertz.
Company, attention! Dismiss.
Next week, another transcribed story of the Northwest frontier and the troopers who fought under Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry. Are you a student, businessman, musician, stamp collector? No matter what your profession or age, your opposite number in some faraway country wants to know about you and to tell you about his own life and thoughts. CBS Radio urges you to send your name to Letters from Abroad, 45 East 65th Street, New York City, mentioning your age, occupation, and interests. They'll find you a suitable correspondent in the country of your choice.
And now, a Western drama series created by director Norman Macdonnell and writer John Meston. The stories take place in and around Dodge City, Kansas, during the settlement of the American West. The radio version ran from 1942 to 1961 and is commonly regarded as one of the finest radio dramas of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you Gunsmoke, next on HOJO Radio.
Around Dodge City and in the territory on west, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with the U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke. Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad. The story of the violence that moved west with young America. The story of a man who moved with it. Matt Dillon, United States Marshal. Well, what have you got there, Chester?
About half and half kid, Mr. Dillon. I'll smack you flat on the
Hold
white
it
side.
now.
You don't stop that kid.
Now hold it. You want me to take the strap to you? Now hold it.
You'd best lock him up somewhere, Mr. Dillon. It's safer that way.
All right, Chester, just calm down. Now you come over here, son. Sit down. Come on.
Look out, Mr. Dillon. He's got hold of your gun.
Okay. Now you sit there. And don't you move an inch. You hear me? Not one inch.
He is a mean little bug.
Now what's it all about, Chester?
What's he done?
I ain't done nothing.
Now, you hush your mean little face. This here place is the law, and you're talking
What's
to
he
Marshal.
done, Chester?
I ain't done nothing.
There, you hear
I
that,
told
Mr.
Chester?
Dillon? Yes, sir. Well, sir, I don't rightly know what he's done.
That's what I told you. I ain't done nothing.
Mr. Dillon, I was walking down to the office when I see this kid. I know most all the sprouts in town, but not him, so I says, hello, and he starts running.
That's what he did?
Yes, sir.
And that's why you brought him in here?
I sure did, Mr. Dillon. I figured if a kid runs away from me for doing nothing, then he's been up to something, so he must have done something. You know what I mean?
No. Now, what's your name, son?
I ain't done nothing.
All right. Now, what's your name?
I ain't saying.
There, you see what I mean, Mr. Dillon? Just plain, ornery, mischievous.
You live here in Dodge?
I ain't saying.
All right. Well, he's probably a runaway, Chester. I guess we'll have to lock him up until somebody comes looking for him, huh?
Best thing in this whole wide world to do, Mr. Dillon. Just look at where he gnawed my thumb. Best thing to do. Come on,
You ain't gonna lock me up?
You got a better idea? We got to do something with you.
Let me be on my way.
Well, where do you live?
About 4 miles out.
Oh, sure. I know you. You're the Macklin kid.
No, I ain't. I'm Danny Bush, but I ain't saying.
There, I knew he wasn't town kid. I just knew that, Mr. Dillon. What did I tell you?
Nothing. Now, if you'll just close up a minute, Chester, we can get this settled and Danny can go on his way. Now, you say you hadn't done anything wrong, son?
No.
Your ma know you're in Dodge this morning?
Guess so.
All your chores done before you came?
No.
Well, maybe you better go on back then, huh? Your ma might be kind of worried.
Guess so.
You, got a horse?
Yeah.
Okay. So long. And take it easy.
I can go now?
Sure. Go ahead, Danny.
You're Marshal Dillon, ain't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I guess I come to Dodge to fetch you. My sister sent me.
Oh?
I wasn't going to, but I've got to now because I promised Lily. She made me swear on Rattler's buttons. And I figured if I didn't see her, I wouldn't be telling no lie if I told her he wasn't around. But now I see him.
Now, hold on. Your sister wants me to come out with you to your place, is that it?
Yeah.
Why?
On account of Pa. None of us gives a hoot except Sister Lily, and she's just acting like a girl.
Well, what's happened to your pa?
He's gone off again, shooting up the cattle. Thing is, he took 2 guns with him this time and a whole mess of bullets. Lily's just scared.
Your pa been drinking a little, maybe?
Yes. Anyhow, he goes loco and stays that way for a long while. But it's like Dave and Donald say. He'll get over it. He always does. They're my brothers, Dave and Donald. They ain't worrying.
Uh-huh. Hey, you want me to go out with you to help find him. Is that it?
I don't want it. Lily does. And I had to swear on Rattler buttons that I'd fetch you.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, it's good that you did. Chester, get your stuff, will you? We'll ride out with Danny. I didn't get anything more out of the boy on the way out to the Birch place. No one in town knew much about the family. They'd moved in about a year earlier, came up from the territories. The folks about said Birch and his brood kept pretty much to themselves. There'd never been any trouble with anybody. I looked at the boy riding his horse bareback. He was nice looking enough, but there was something the matter with his mouth. It was too hard. You could tell he wasn't a kid who did much smiling. Maybe with his paw acting that way, I didn't blame him. He sure rode his horse proud, though. It was hot and dry, and by the time we were inside of the Birch place, the sun was burning down hard.
Hold on. That'd be Donald, I figure. Yeah, there's his...
Kid, get off on that horse and get over here. You're going to get yourself a licking.
Lily made me go. It's not my fault.
Do as I say. And you, mister.
The name's Dillon. I'm the U.S. Marshal out of Dodge. Your brother asked me to come out and help.
Don't need no help. Shut up, Ham. Nothing to help with.
Danny, you heard. Put the horse away and get in the house.
You ain't giving me no licking.
Put up your gun. I'm coming over to talk. Come on, Chester. It's against the law to shoot a man in cold blood. You know that?
Shucks, I wasn't aiming at you. I was aiming at a rabbit up in the rise there. The horse had scared it away.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, what about your paw?
What about him?
Have you found him?
Shucks, he don't need to be found. He'll come back when he's good and ready. Pa's off hunting.
That's not what your brother says. Where'd he go?
Oh, he's going to get himself a licking, that's what, and he knows it. Kept himself away, that's what.
Donald, that's your name, isn't it?
Yeah?
Well, look, I'm not one to interfere in family matters, but if you do need help, I mean, if your paw's shooting up cattle like Danny says, well, maybe he'll be practicing next on people, and that wouldn't be so good.
Well, that brother of ours, he's a dirty little liar.
No, he's not, Donald. I'm glad you came, Marshal. You come into the house, please?
Chester and I followed the girl into the house. I knew it was the sister Lily. All the family I'd seen up to then had a great likeness to each other. Donald slouched in behind us and moved around the room nervous-like. It wasn't by rights a house. It was too big for a cabin. I had the feeling that they'd put up boards and studs where the fancy took them, and the place just grew another room like a lizard's new tail. I don't know what it was, but I got a funny feeling. It was too hot, and something was wrong. All wrong. And the girl Lily looked square at me with hard eyes.
Donald.
Huh?
Sit down. You make me nervous.
Oh, sure.
Marshal Dillon, I want you to help us find Pa.
Oh, Lily, Dave's going to be awful mad.
Somebody's got to do something around here.
Did your pa take a horse?
No.
Oh, where do you think he went, Miss Lily?
I don't know. Maybe up to Horse Flat. Maybe over by Gorman's Creek.
Creek's all dried up. There's got to be no water in there.
Did he take a water skin with him?
Uh-uh.
No, he didn't.
Kind of bad wandering around without no water.
When did he leave?
Yesterday morning. Heard a couple of shots along about noon. Dave found a calf laying dead over in the North Range. You can see it there through the window. Hadn't had time to bring it in yet.
Was he drunk?
Sure. Drunk as you can get. Weren't you, Lily?
I'm afeard for him, Marshal Dillon.
Yeah, I understand. Well, it makes good sense you sent for me. Well, I'll try and find him and bring him back.
Well, I ain't gonna do no such thing. You that Marshal fella out of Doc?
This is Marshal Dillon, Dave. My brother, Dave Birch.
How are you?
I told you, Lily. Told you keep our business to us, not outside.
It's got to be somebody else's business the way it is, Dave. And you know it.
No such thing, Lily. I told her, Dave. I told her. I knew you was going to be mad.
I figure the four of us, you and your brother here, and Chester and me, ought to be able to get him in before night.
Now, mister, I told you we don't need you. Nor no one else. I'll be obliged you get off this property.
Hey.
Shut up, Lily. Now, I'll see you and your fella there to the door, Marshal.
I'm sorry, but if your paw's running around dangerous, it's my duty to find him.
Donald.
I got him. Get up slow, Marshal. And you fella, reach up high. Okay, Dave. Take the guns.
The younger brother, Donald, had got behind my chair, and now he was covering us with a shotgun. Dave took our guns. It was kind of crazy, and I almost wanted to laugh when I saw the kid, Danny, peeking in around the door. But then I saw his eyes, and there was the same thing in them. Hard, angry, as in the others. The girl started to say something. Then she shut up.
Now get on your horses and ride back. And I don't want you out here again. This ain't no matter for the law, and you're trespassing.
You're making it a matter for the law right now. You know that.
Start walking.
Them guns is U.S. property.
Okay. I ain't no thief. Here, bullets I'm keeping. Figure they're worth about 2 bits. No, give them 2 bits.
Sure. Here.
All right, now here's your guns. Now get out fast. If you come snooping back again, me and my brother's going to be shooting at you.
We will return for the second act of Gunsmoke in just a moment. But first, for centuries, arthritis and rheumatism have plagued mankind. And it's only in the last few years that science has begun to find hopeful avenues to explore toward relief and cure. The Arthritis and Rheumatism Foundation, established in 1948, holds a yearly drive to obtain funds for yet more concentrated research. A contribution to this year's drive, sent simply Arthritis, in care of your local postmaster, will help this fine work to continue for the eventual benefit of everyone. And now for the second act of Gunsmoke.
The 2 brothers followed us out and over to the horses. As hot as it was in the house, it was worse in the open. The saddles were burning. There wasn't another word passed between the Birch boys and me. They just stood covering us. And when I looked back 100 yards or more off, they were still there.
Well, sir, that's what comes of trying to do a kindness, Mr. Dillon. As far as I'm concerned, they deserve whatever happens.
I can't make it out, Chester. You'd think from the way they talk they don't care what happens to their paw.
Mean bunch of children. They probably don't. My, Mr. Dillon, you ain't even riled they pulled guns on us.
I guess I'm not, Chester. You know, there's something awful wrong back there. Those boys don't look the kind to pull a gun. The girl wanted to talk, all right, but they wouldn't let her.
Just mean, that's all. Oh, you aim to go back, Mr. Dillon?
It's like I said, Chester, if it's just a family affair, you and me don't belong in it. But if the old man's as drunk as he sounds, he could make a lot of trouble. No, we're not going back right now. We're going to have a look around this country for a spell. Chester and me covered a lot of ground that morning and into the afternoon. I had an idea that we might find Birch wherever we could find water. Without a horse, he couldn't get too far, and without water, he was going to get sick pretty quick. We rode over by Gorman's Creek and then up to Horse Flats, and there was nothing. Along about 2 in the afternoon, Chester spotted a carcass lying off the trail. It was a cow. She'd been shot 3 times in the head.
It could have happened this morning or yesterday.
Uh-huh.
Hard to tell in this weather. Oh.
Well, the ground's too dry to pick up a track. Might as well take a chance and go over to the hills.
Yeah, might be water there. Boy, I could do with some right this very minute.
I got a funny taste in my mouth looking at that dead cow. When a thing dies natural or gets killed for food, that's one thing, but Even an animal has a look about it when it's been murdered. We rode the half a dozen miles to the hills. They weren't rightly hills, maybe more like humps rising up from the brown, dry earth. And we could get a good view across the plain. There was a patch or two of wild oats up there, long turned to rust, and foxtails. Maybe it was in our minds, but just those few feet higher made us seem closer to the sun. And hotter. You ought to be able to see if he's out there anywhere.
Mr. Dillon, he'd be dead if he was. Man couldn't live a morning out there on foot.
Well, I don't think he's going to find water up here. Now look at that.
Dry as a bone. You see something, Mr. Dillon?
Yeah, tracks, I think. Yeah, he's been up here. I went down again, though. Over there.
He sure made a long way on foot. Must be more than 8 miles from his place.
Yeah.
Oh, you darn fool.
Rattler.
Yeah, I saw. Blew his head clean off. I was afraid you was going to step on him.
Well, we'll follow the tracks until they give out. Come on. Those tracks kept going in and around the hills. In a couple of places we saw where they'd stop by a dry water hole, then went on. And then as the hill sloped down to the plain again, we lost them. But the direction seemed to be headed back to the Birch place. That's the way we rode. We hadn't gone more than 15 minutes along when we saw the body of a man and a horse some few feet away. They were both dead.
He wanted to make sure, didn't he, Mr. Dillon? Birch must have emptied his gun. Look at that.
Isn't it Jack Mason, one of old man Gorman's hands?
Yes, sir. That's who it is, right enough. Nice fella, too. I knew him a bit.
Get him on your horse, will you, Chester, and take him over to Mr. Gorman?
Yes, sir, I'll do that.
I'm going to go back to the Birch place.
I'd rather come with you, Mr. Dillon.
No, meet me there, huh?
Yes, sir.
And if you see Birch on the way, watch your step. Try not to kill him. But don't take any chances.
No, sir, I surely won't.
There was killing now, and I wasn't in the mood to talk gentle and kind with the sons and girl at the house. It was the boy Danny that saw me first. He was sitting on the doorstep. He ran inside. And a second later, I saw Dave come out with a shotgun. I didn't give him a chance to make up his mind.
Shut up, kid. Get inside. Hang on.
Your arms.
Get inside now, you hear me?
I'm sorry, but I'm not arguing with you anymore. Where's your paw?
I don't know.
He killed a man back on the plain away.
You're a liar.
Told you get in the house, kid. Now get.
I'm staying. He's a liar. Paul never killed nobody.
Where's Donald and your sister?
Outlook. Mister did it. They killed some.
Yeah. Jack Mason, one of Gorman's boys.
Don't you say that. Don't you say
Danny, get me some whiskey, will you? My arm pains.
Yeah, I will. But you ain't gonna tell no lies about my Paul. You tell me quick, Dave.
Where do you think he is?
Donald Hurst shot up Horse Flats when they gone up there.
And he must have doubled back from the hills. Listen, you told the boy to ride into town and fetch the doc out here. He'll take care of that arm.
Okay.
When my deputy rides in, Chester Proudfoot, tell him where I've gone, will you?
Sure. Marsh?
Yeah.
Marshal, you gonna kill our Paul?
I don't want to. Not if I can help it. Over at Horse Flats, I caught up with Donald and Willie Birch. I told them about the killing. And a half mile further on, the three of us saw the old man. He was crouched down on his haunches by a parched water hole, stripped naked. He was crying. It was a bad sound. And when I saw his eyes, I knew he wasn't drunk. There was no sign of his guns or his clothes.
Come on, Pa. It's okay. It's Donald. You're okay, Pa. Come on, home. Come on, Pa, please.
I knew it would happen like this. Someday. I knew it would. Boys figured it'd be shame on us all. Word got out Pa had spells.
Your brothers were wrong.
Pa, please, will you? Pa. Come on.
It was all right till after Ma died. And he started to act this way. That's why we had to leave our last place. People found out. Try to keep him home, but it weren't no good.
Give your old Pa a sup of water. And your Pa's thirsty now. Come on, Pa. Get up. We're going to bed.
Funny. Pa never took a drink in his life. We always said he was drunk when he carried on like this. People could figure a man drunk.
I'm sorry, Miss Lily, but I'm going to have to take him in. I got to.
What'll they do to him?
I don't know. But he's done murder. It's my job to take him in.
They'll hang him.
I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know.
Son, where's your brother? He didn't ought to let you come out here alone. Now, you're too young now. Where's your Ma? She ought to know better now.
Miss Lily, come over here.
Oh, no, son.
Now, I want you to listen to me. It's not my business, but will you let me give you some advice? Miss Lily?
Huh?
Now, you sell this place. I'll see what I can do to help. And you and your brothers go somewhere else and start afresh. You can get a good price for your land. You do that. It's best.
Yeah. We'll go.
I'm not saying you've got to. I'm saying it'd be better. It'd be better for the kid. He's seen too much of this. It's not good. You gotta teach him to smile again. Act like a kid again. You understand? You understand?
Sure. I understand.
Okay. I'll be taking him along now. We'll stop off at your place with some clothes.
All right.
We took the old man back to his place. Got him dressed. His children said goodbye to him like they knew that they'd never see him again. Like there was no hope. Chester rode in, and the old man seemed real happy to go back with us to Dodge. He didn't know. He didn't care. On the way, we passed the Doc and Danny riding out to take care of Dave's arm. Funny thing, the old man didn't even see the kid. He was prattling to us about the Indian Wars. The last I saw Danny Birch, he was looking back over his shoulder at his paw. And we heard him still crying a long way off.
Gunsmoke, under the direction of Norman MacDonald, stars William Conrad as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. Tonight's story was specially written for Gunsmoke by Anthony Ellis, with music composed and conducted by Rex Corey. Featured in the cast were Richard Beals as Danny and Michael Ann Barrett as Lily, with Lee Millar, John Boehner, and Lawrence Dobkin. Parley Bear is Chester. Gunsmoke is heard by our troops overseas through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Join us again next week as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal, fights to bring law and order out of the wild violence of the West in Gunsmoke. The New York Philharmonic celebrates its 110th birthday tomorrow, and in observance, there will be a repeat performance of Beethoven's Symphony No. 5. This work was featured on the first Philharmonic broadcast over 100 years ago.
Keep it tuned right here to HOJO Radio for more classic old-time radio.
Around Dodge City and in the territory on west, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke. Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad. The story of the violence that moved west with young America. The story of a man who moved with it. Matt Dillon, United States Marshal.
Mr. Dillon?
Yeah, Chester.
You want to see the prettiest sight north of the Pecos?
Huh? Sight?
Come over here to the window and look what's a-coming down the street.
Well, if it's anything besides trouble, it'll surprise me.
She must have come in on the Santa Fe from the east.
Wow.
Say, I think she's coming here.
Yeah, it looks that way.
My, I should have shaved this morning.
Or even yesterday morning.
Now, what could a lady like that be doing in Dodge City? Hey, maybe she's going to work in one of the saloons, Mr. Dillon.
No, I hope not, Chester. Good morning, ma'am.
How do you do? I'm looking for the United States Marshal.
Well, I'm the, my name's Dillon, Matt Dillon.
I'm Catherine Blair, Mr. Dillon.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Miss Blair. May I introduce my deputy? This is Chester Proudfoot.
How do you do?
I just got in on the train from Boston, Mr. Dillon.
Oh?
The station master said that you might be able to help me.
Well, I'd be glad to.
I'm looking for my brother, Martin Blair.
Why, say, Mr. Dillon...
Chester, will you punch up that fire? It seems a little chilly in here.
Chilly? Yeah, sure. Right away, Mr. Dillon.
Do you happen to know my brother, Mr. Dillon?
Yes. Yes, I know him.
Oh, good. Then you can tell me where to find him.
Well, I'm not too sure that I can. You see, he moves around a lot.
Yes, I know. He left home and came out west 2 years ago. And every time he's written us, it's been from a different address. He's always been that way. Restless, I guess you might call it.
Yes, I guess you might.
Mother's always thinking he might get into trouble out here by himself. But I tell her not to worry. He's young yet. He'll grow out of it.
I see. Meanwhile, though, you'll need someplace to stay, I imagine.
Well, Yes, I suppose there's a hotel.
I think the Widow Markham may have an extra room. You'd be better off there than at the hotel. Your baggage at the station?
Yes.
Chester, will you go to the station with Miss Blair and then take her over to Widow Markham's and get her settled in a room?
Sure thing, Mr. Dillon.
This is awfully nice of you.
Not at all. And, Chester, will you explain the situation to Miss Markham? I mean that we don't know where Miss Blair's brother is at the moment, Chester?
Yes, sir. I'll explain it to her, Mr. Dillon. After you, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. You're very kind, Mr. Dillon. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Jack? Wake up, Jack.
I'm not asleep, Marshal. What do you want?
A jail cell usually softens a man up.
Not this one, Dillon. Not now or 20 years from now.
Yeah, I know.
You want something, or are you just making conversation?
Your sister's in town, Martin.
Kathy? Kathy's here in Dodge?
She just left the office. She's looking for you.
What'd you tell her?
Nothing. Yet. Seems like a fine girl.
You gotta get her out of here, Dillon. Don't let her find out. Get her on a train and get her out of here.
Huh? Why?
Maybe I'm no good, but there's no reason why Kathy should pay for it.
That's got nothing to do with me.
Then you won't help. You won't keep her from finding out?
I don't know if I can, Martin. But I'll think about it.
Oh. Evening, Mr. Dillon.
Hello, Chester. Anything come up?
No, sir. It's been the quietest night in weeks.
Yeah, no trail herds in town. I guess that's the reason.
Miss Blair's all right, I suppose?
Yeah, she's all right, Chester.
Have you told her about her brother, Mr. Dillon?
Well, I told her that he's out of town. We're trying to get word to him.
The truth's bound to get to her somehow, sooner or later.
Yeah, I know. Only reason it hasn't already is because everybody in town knows him as Boston Jack.
Yes, but his real name will come out at the trial next week, though.
Well, I've been trying to get her to leave before then, go back home, but she won't leave until she sees him.
He's sure going to go hard with her when she finds out her brother's guilty of cattle rustling.
And murder, and horse stealing. And this time we got a witness.
Yes, sir. I don't rightly see how you can keep her from finding out, Mr. Dillon.
Well, come on, Chester, let's have a talk with Martin.
Nice night, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, it's fine. A great night for taking a walk. Don't you think so, Martin?
Anything's better than rotting in that cell.
Well, where did you expect to end up?
All you got is old man Hawk's word against mine. He's lying.
The jury will believe him.
If he could see me so plain, how come he couldn't tell you who was with me?
It was dark. He saw your face in the gun flash when you shot his foreman in the back.
That's a lie.
As far as that's concerned, I know who was with you, but I haven't got a case against him. Red Poley. Wasn't it?
I wouldn't know. I wasn't there.
I suppose we leave it to the jury.
Here's the Widow Markham's place, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah. All right, Martin, let's get it straight now. You're here because you want to keep your sister from knowing the truth about you. Now, we're going in there and talk to her. Then you're going back to jail. You know the story I'm planning to tell her.
I know.
I just want to make one thing clear. You are going back to jail. Chester will stay on the front porch and cover you through the window, and I'll be inside with you, also wearing a gun. Don't try anything foolish. I wouldn't want to kill you in front of your sister, but if it comes to it, I'll do it. You understand?
Sure. I understand.
All right, let's go.
I'll be there at the first window, Mr. Dillon. The parlor's on the left.
All right, Chester. Heads up, Chester.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Miss Blair.
Oh, why, Mr. Dillon.
I brought you a visitor.
A visit... Martin.
Hiya, Kathy.
Oh, Martin. Oh, Martin.
Here now. Take it easy.
Oh, it's been so long. Oh, Martin, why didn't you write?
Well, you know how it is, sis. Say, maybe we could all go inside, huh?
Oh, of course. Come on in. Come in. Oh, I couldn't imagine who was knocking. Mrs. Markham has gone to bed and... Oh, here. Sit down, both of you.
Thank you, Miss Blair.
Oh, Mr. Dillon. Where on earth did you find him?
Well, I guess I better confess to you, Miss Blair. I knew all along where he was.
What?
The only trouble was I just couldn't produce him.
I'm afraid I don't understand you.
Well, you see, Martin's been doing some work for me. Sort of secret work, you might say. We're trying to dig up evidence on a gang of cattle rustlers around.
Oh, just wait till Mother hears about that. Oh, and she was so worried about you.
Yeah. It's quite a job.
It's pretty hard for your brother to get away from the gang without stirring up suspicion. In fact, he's only got about an hour this evening.
Oh? But you will manage more time in the next day or so.
I'm afraid not, sis. I may not be able to get away again for a month.
A month?
In fact, I've been thinking it over, and I think the best thing you can do is to take a train back home right away.
But I just got here, Martin.
It's no place for you, Kathy.
He's right, Miss Blair. Dodge City's no town for a girl alone.
But I came all this way to see Martin.
It's like I told you, though, sis. It may be a month before I can manage to get away again. Tell you what. After this job's finished, maybe I can get back east for a week or so.
Oh, Martin, if you only could. We'd all be so happy.
Well, I can't guarantee it, but I'll sure try.
I'll admit I'm a little nervous here. Why, the very first thing Mrs. Markham showed me was a revolver she keeps hanging out there in the hall. In case of intruders, she said. Good heavens.
Well, this is the frontier, Miss Blair. The law is still pretty much for the man who shoots first.
Except sometimes.
Yeah.
That sounds awful. Martin, you will be careful, won't you?
I'm always careful.
I suppose I had better take your advice and arrange to leave in the next day or two. But meanwhile, we have an hour at least. Tell me about yourself, Martin. Tell me everything you've been doing.
It's cold in here, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, you better get a fire started, Chester. I'll take Martin back and lock him up.
I could use a little heat back in that cell.
You got plenty of blankets. Well, come on, let's go. Now, you walk ahead of me.
Dillon, suppose the jury brings in a conviction. What's the sentence going to be?
That's not up to me.
I'm just asking for information. It means hanging. Right?
Probably. All right, stand right there while I open the cell.
I don't want much to hang, Marshal.
Nobody does. All right, Martin, get in.
Slow and easy, Dillon. Put your hands up slow. Good. Now keep them that way.
Where'd you get the gun?
In the hall at Mrs. Markham's. I slipped it under my coat when I was kissing Kathy goodbye. I'll take your gun now, Dillon. Thanks. Feels good to be holding a pair of guns again.
You won't be holding them long.
Maybe. One thing, though. If you take me again, you'll have to take me dead.
Any way you want it.
In the cell, Dillon. Come on, move. Tell Chester goodbye for me, will you? I think I'll just go on out the back way.
What about your sister?
I guess she wouldn't want to see me hang either, when you come right down to it. So long, Dillon.
We will return for the second act of Gunsmoke in just a moment. But first, if you've ever had delusions of grandeur or a particularly soul-satisfying daydream, you'll understand the predicament of My Little Margie tomorrow night on CBS Radio. Convinced that she's a princess, My Little Margie, played by Gail Storm, gives her father, he's Charles Farrell, a royal pain in the neck. It's another comedy episode of CBS Radio's new Sunday night laugh program, My Little Margie, tomorrow night on most of these same stations. Now for the second act of Gunsmoke.
Doggone it, Mr. Dillon, I know one of these keys is supposed to fit.
Chester, all I've got to say is that it better fit.
Yes, sir. Well, that's not it. It would be a fine how-to-do if we had to call in a blacksmith to get you out of your own jail.
Chester.
It'd be sort of like the time...
Never mind, Chester. Just get the door open.
Yes, sir. Oh, I know how you feel, all right, Mr. Well, I declare. There you are, Mr. Dillon.
Come on. I'll get the other gun out of the office safe.
Fine thanks you get for trying to help people.
A man gets careless and then he winds up in a jam like this. Hey, let's see now. Right, 27. Left, 69. Right.
It's sure going to be hard to explain why you took Martin out of jail, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, I know.
If he gets clean away, we're going to look pretty foolish.
He's not going to get away, Chester.
Yes, sir.
10-1, Martin will try to team up with his sidekick Polly before he heads out of town. Let's try the saloons first and see if we can pick up his trail.
Yes, Mr. Dillon.
Martin said we'd never bring him in alive. So don't take any chances.
No sign of him in here, Mr. Dillon. Not unless he's in the back room.
Let's walk over toward the bar. That's bad business, Chester. Martin's already shot one man in the back. We'll never catch him in the open, if he's got anything to say about it.
Yes, sir, I've been thinking about that. Kind of makes a man's spine crawl.
Hiya, boy.
Heavenly day out.
You act as though you were caught robbing a bank.
I've always suspected Chester of having a shady past, Gil.
Have a drink, man?
No, we haven't got time. We can't stay. We're looking for a fellow.
By the way, who went bail for Boston Jack?
What do you mean?
Well, he was in here about 10 minutes ago.
He was in there, huh?
Yeah, he talked to Red Poley, and the two of them left together. I thought he must
You know where they went, Kitty?
Well, no, Matt, I haven't got any idea, but they sure left you in a hurry. He broke out of jail, huh?
There's 40 ways from Sunday they could have ridden, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, I know. But if they're not in Dodge, there's only one way they'd head.
The Circle B.
Yeah. Martin knows Hawks is the only witness I've got against him. Come on, Chester.
Ranch looks quiet.
Yeah. We've been making time. Maybe we outrode them.
If they're even headed this way.
Now, they better be.
Hold it. Who's there?
Somebody standing there at the side of the house.
Yeah, I see. It's the marshal, Matt Dillon. Is that you, Ezra?
That's right. Come on up, Matt. What brings you way out here this time of night, Matt?
Well, I'm sort of counting on an old acquaintance of yours showing up here sometime tonight.
What are you talking about?
Boston Jack.
Out of jail. Matt, how'd that happen?
Well, I doubt if it'd serve any good purpose to go into that right now. He hasn't been here, I take it.
No. Matt, he's a mad dog. Ought to be shot a long time ago. I'd kill him on sight.
Well, I came out here to make sure he doesn't kill you. Chester, put our horses in the barn. Get him out of sight, huh?
All right, Mr. Dillon.
And, you may as well stay there, Chester, and cover the yard.
Yes, sir.
Well, what about us, Matt? What are we going to do?
Go inside the house and put the lights out and wait. That's all, just wait.
Well, it's been 30 minutes, Matt. I think you're on a cold trail.
And I hope not.
Yeah, he'd had enough time to get here.
Maybe not enough courage, though.
They figure the odds are 2-1 in their favor. Shouldn't take much courage.
People who've never killed anybody don't understand. The killer's worst enemy is his own nerve.
Well, I'll take your word for it, Matt. I guess you've sat and waited like this plenty of times.
Yeah, too many.
Does it ever bother you, Matt? Do you ever get to wondering?
Wait a minute. Well, there they are, Ezra.
Where, Matt?
Over there by the corral. You see? They're walking the horses into the yard. Slow and quiet.
Yeah, I see them. What are you going to do, Matt?
Go out and call them.
Oh, they'll fire from the dark without no warning.
Yeah, I know. They're getting off their horses. Gonna walk up here, I guess. All right, Ezra. Stay in the house and keep out of this. Chester and I can handle them.
Yeah, Matt. Good luck.
Thanks.
Martin, Foley, you're under arrest.
Be careful, Matt.
Heads up, Chester. I dropped Foley. Martin's running into the corral.
Yes, I see, Mr. Dillon.
You're trapped, Martin. Now climb out of that corral.
I told you how it would be, Dillon. Come on in and get me.
Sure, Martin. I'm coming.
Mr. Dillon, he's fired the Henry. We are. Look, he's trying to get the horse down. Matt, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Is he... They didn't shoot him, huh?
No. He fell off right in front of the stampede. They went right over him.
Well, here we are, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah. Wait here for me, Chester. I'll go in and tell her.
All right, you.
I hope she believes me.
Don't worry, Mr. Dillon. She will.
I'll be out in a couple of minutes. Evening, Miss Blair.
Why, Mr. Dillon, this is a surprise.
Do you mind if I step in?
Of course I don't mind.
Thank you.
A friend of Martin's is welcome and... Mr. Dillon, is something wrong?
I'm afraid so, Miss Blair. I've got bad news for you.
It's Martin. Something's happened to Martin.
Yes, ma'am.
He's hurt.
It's worse than hurt, ma'am.
No. Oh, no.
Martin was killed in a fight.
Martin dead.
If it's any consolation, Miss Blair, he died hard with all the odds against him.
Martin never asked for favor.
He fought a good fight. That's something to remember.
Martin has always been fine and clean. He was just restless. People didn't understand.
No, I suppose they didn't, Miss Blair. But he died on his feet, fighting.
I guess that's the way Martin wanted it.
Yes, I think so, ma'am. I suppose Miss Markham's here. I wouldn't want to leave you alone.
Yes, she's here. I'll be all right, Mr. Dillon.
Well, I'll come by and see you in the morning. If there's anything at all I can do...
You've been very kind, Mr. Dillon. I'm grateful to you.
I'm sorry about this, Miss Blair.
Marshal, I'll be leaving tomorrow.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Miss Blair.
You all right, Mr. Dillon?
I think so, Chester.
Did she believe what you told her?
What I told her was true.
I know there's no harm in letting her think the best of it.
Martin paid his debt. No reason his sister should suffer.
That's right, Mr. Dillon.
Chester, if I remember correctly, Kitty offered us a drink earlier this evening.
That's right.
Well, let's go.
Gunsmoke, under the direction of Norman MacDonald, stars William Conrad as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. Tonight's story was specially written for Gunsmoke by Les Crutchfield, with music composed and conducted by Rex Corey. Featured in the cast were Gene Bates, Sam Edwards, and Ralph Moody. Parley Bear is Chester, and Georgia Ellis is Kitty. Gunsmoke is heard by our troops overseas through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Join us again next week as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal, fights to bring law and order out of the wild violence of the West in Gunsmoke.
Thanks for listening to HOJO Radio. We'll be back again very soon.